We are brought to you by Boss Bears Supplements. That's Boss Bears Supplements at bossbears.co. Hard work, consistency, and determination are difficult to sustain when your mind and body can't keep up. Fuel your body with what it needs to perform like a boss. Whether you're closing deals, pitching a new business idea, or training in the gym, Boss Bears take your hustle to the next level. Our ingredients are the highest quality with potency and serving sizes that are the gold standard in the industry. Check out all of Boss Bear's products at bossbears.co. They have apple cider vinegar gummies. They have ashwagandha. They have all kinds of supplements in delicious gummy form. They also have them in pill form if you don't want the gummies. I prefer the gummies. They are delicious, and I've tried the apple cider vinegar. They are very good. Use code Nicky at checkout to save 10%. That's bossbears.co, code Nicky. We are brought to you by Clout Power Supplements. That's KLOUTPWR.com. So here I have the protein, the Cravings protein from Clout. This one is the salted caramel. This is some of the best protein that I've ever had in my life. It's actually delicious. I like the salted caramel and the cinnamon swirl are my two favorites. Also, their pre-workouts are amazing. So they have the Karma Nootropic pre-workout. It's a nootropic and focused pre-workout. It's a lower stimulant formula, zero itch formula. It has 4 trademark ingredients, and has fully dosed ingredients. So far, the Arctic Cherry is probably my favorite of the Karma pre-workout. Also, try the Nero Aminos from them. And also the High Stimulant Mamba is some of my favorite too. And I really like the Arctic Cherry of that one. So go to cloutpower.com and use code Nicky to save 15%. KLOUTPWR.com. Code Nicky to save 15%. Okay, everybody, welcome to the Nicky Free Podcast. And we're here with Loraine Sindayen.
Hello.
And how are you?
Doing good, Nick.
Doing good? Okay, well, so Loraine is an interior decorator, correct? Designer.
Correct.
What does that entail?
So in our profession, technically, in order to refer to yourself as an interior designer, you have to have actually had formal education and a degree.
Okay, so is that different from interior decorator?
So, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So one who would refer themselves as a decorator is probably doesn't have the educational background or certification or degree.
Gotcha. So to be an
More of a
interior
credential.
designer,
Yeah.
what kind of education do you need to get?
Well, when I graduated in 1998.
That's that's not long ago at all. A couple years ago.
I was able to get my degree as a 3-year.
Okay.
Yeah, graduate.
Awesome.
So.
What got you into that? Just had a love for it?
I've always been an artistic person.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at all kinds of career paths that involved anything related to art.
Right.
I love to draw.
Mm-hmm.
I gravitate towards anything artistic.
Yeah.
And when I also, when thinking about my career path, I looked into even psychology.
Right.
Specifically child psychology, but then I quickly got swayed away from that career.
So what was it that interested you in psychology?
I'm fascinated with just
how the human brain works.
The human mind. I'm a very I consider myself a very I have to have a very strong intuition.
Yeah, so you can like feel
pretty
people's
deep.
energies and
Yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and to try to understand, all the parts and pieces that go into people's, you know, what makes them who they are.
Right.
I'm just fascinated with all that stuff. Even as a kid at a young age, when I could access, those teen magazines.
Yeah.
I would always
Tiger Beat.
yeah
All that
Teen
kind of stuff. Like,
bop.
who was like on the cover of that when you were a kid? Like when you were buying those, who would have been like who was the heartthrob back then?
Oh, probably guys were maybe like Corey Haim, all the Corys, Corey Feldman.
Corey Feldman. He's Donatello, by the way, from Ninja Turtles.
Was he?
He was Donatello, the voice. Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
wow.
OG Ninja Turtle movie. That's Corey Feldman.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, that's just some nerd trivia.
But yeah, so I'm at 80s.
Ninja Turtle trivia.
Yeah,
So the Corey's on the cover and reading about all the relationships.
So I always went straight to the quizzes.
Yeah.
I went straight to the quizzes.
So what's your sign?
My sign?
Yeah.
Like my astrological
Yeah.
sign?
Is that like,
Well, according to Eastern astrology,
Yeah.
I'm a Libra.
okay, that makes sense.
Scales.
That makes sense. My friend who got her master's in psychology, she's also a Libra.
Oh. So there's a
Yeah.
correlation.
It must be a thing, yeah.
Maybe.
I'm a Capricorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is...
I don't know. It means you're like born in the beginning of January. So. And I know like Jesus, he was one.
Okay.
So
Wow, so can you walk in water?
Jesus and Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam too. He's a Capricorn. So and Jesus. So I'm like, okay, I'm in good company at least.
Right
you know?
on.
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, I don't know. Psychology is interesting.
Yeah, so that was... I looked into interior design, and I saw the artistic side, and I loved
Yeah.
that aspect of it, but I didn't realize how much just how much psychology is involved
And is that
in
because
design too.
like dealing with the customers or like how the room makes people feel or like
All of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like how does psychology play into that interior design?
Well, with interior designers versus architects, we look at things from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
Architects look at things from the outside in. So
Okay.
I look at what we do kind of as problem solvers because, we're designing spaces catered to the individuals that are going to be occupying that space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have freedom to move walls if they're not structural, obviously.
Right.
And to add color and to add, a certain ambiance. So we really are creating environments specific for those people living in them or occupying them. And so, where the psychology is involved in that, I mean, there's a psychology of color, there's a psychology of just spatially, like, when you walk into space, the energy that you get. And
So you have to try to tailor that to the people, their needs, basically. So you kind of have
There's a lot of asking questions. There's a lot of trying to understand and get to know.
And so
the end
you're
user.
kind of an intuitive. Mm-hmm. So you can kind of pick up on their energies and try to match them with the right. Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that's probably tough sometimes.
Yeah. Well, it's a science.
Right.
It really is. So I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to that type of stuff.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
geek out when it.
So like if you
those kind
get in
of
a room
things.
with other interior designers, you can like totally geek out over it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's that artistic side of me, very right brain.
Yes.
But then I have a very strong left brain too, which is
And
like
wait,
the
which
logical
one's right?
side.
Okay, left brain's logical, right brain is creative.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, the creative stuff's cool. Like, so what, did you draw a lot when you were a kid? Like, just drawing pictures and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. And what did
I
you...
always did coloring contests.
Yeah.
And,
What did you draw?
I would always win them too.
Did you have, like, your teachers, like, look, like, oh, wow, this is good art? Like...
Oh, yeah, I used to get, like, extra credit points for my
Yeah.
handwriting.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, this is
I don't know
definitely-
about today, though, now. I think there's been a decline in my
Oh, yeah,
penmanship
because we never write
everything's-
anymore.
No, we're all typing.
Everything's on the
and
computer.
Texting. Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're doing interior design, is that something where you use a lot of like computer programs now to do it, or is that? I was gonna say they probably use a lot of that now. Huh?
Oh yeah, so much stuff is
Like you can probably
digital.
mock up things digitally and all that
Mm-hmm.
to show customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of do you get a lot of jobs around here? Like big jobs, small jobs, or what is?
Well, so I've worked in mostly residential design,
Okay.
and what I do today is I manage a design showroom.
Mm-hmm.
I work for a remodeler. We're
Yeah.
a general contractor. We remodel, do home renovations, kitchens, custom kitchens and baths. And I do all the product ordering, procurement, and I deal with the customers and some of the design.
Yeah.
So, and I've been doing that for the last 5 years. Prior to that, I used to be in the furniture sales
Ooh, yeah.
business, and I used to be a color consultant for a paint company in Bellevue. So there's different. There's a lot of areas in our industry where designers can, have different roles.
Right.
But I've mostly, been involved in residential design.
So, do you have any certain like favorite styles of design or your own? Like, do you have like any kind? Because I don't even know the types of design there is, but you probably have favorites and stuff, don't you? Or like certain styles that you like better than others.
I do gravitate towards some classic contemporary type of looks.
And what would that be like?
So, I like clean, I like fresh, but I also like traditional details.
Okay.
So, put me in a contemporary home, but I'll stick some, um, you know, European millwork in there somewhere.
Is that like woodwork stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the architectural details, I tend to like some that are on the more traditional side, but you could probably call what I like maybe classic contemporary.
Okay.
There's so many.
So is there like
things
it's
out
like
there.
you can basically create a mood of a room with just how you design it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Like how it's gonna feel based on what's gonna happen in that room, and that's probably pretty interesting when you get into it.
Yeah. During COVID, especially, I mean, we were the busiest we'd ever been.
Mm-hmm.
People were finally like living in their homes and experiencing.
They weren't
what
at
it was
work all the
like.
time.
Yeah.
They wanted their space to be good. Yeah,
people
that
were
makes sense.
living in their homes, working out of their homes, doing school out of their homes, and so we became solution. Yeah,
Or maybe they had the time for the first time to like focus on their home because they weren't at work all the
Absolutely.
time. Like,
Yeah.
so what's up with that like 90s like sponge paint thing? So like when I moved in here, the bathroom was horrendous. Like it was like this ugly like it was like I think a white wall with like this ugly green like sponge painted all over it.
Seafoam green.
Yeah, like seafoam green, just like the nastiest color. And I'm like, I got to do something to this bathroom. So I ended up, it's not like I did a great job, but it looks a lot better. Like I put down some like panel flooring in there that's like that fake kind of like gray woodwork. So the floor
Yeah.
looks better. And then I painted the cupboards black, painted the walls white, got a black shower curtain, put up some art. And it like made a whole different, but I'm like, what? How did anybody ever like that ugly sponge
I've
paint?
been in so many different homes.
You look at some of the old stuff and you're like, what were people thinking? And I suppose like now, some days people will come back to this time.
Oh yeah.
What's popular right now, and they'll look back like, ooh, what were they thinking in 2023? That's horrible.
Well, think about fashion.
Because
right?
it all changes. Ooh, are you into fashion too?
Oh yeah, I love fashion too.
Yeah.
Well, I almost thought about being a fashion designer too. I mean, there were so many things.
You should do that on the side too. What's your favorite like fashion stuff?
Oh.
Like I don't even know what fashion's doing right
Like
now.
couture, fashion design label, brand name.
I don't know. Let's start rocking some Gucci stuff. Like I don't know, but I do like fashion. It's cool.
You know
like,
what's funny is I love it and I appreciate that stuff, but I don't even own a Louis Vuitton purse.
Well, it's kind of silly too. Yeah.
I mean, it's like
You're paying for a name, basically. Yeah.
To me, it's I mean, I
It's
love them. They're
it's
beautiful.
a clout thing. Yeah. Someday when we're rich, we'll all start rocking.
Maybe.
We'll be wearing Gucci belts and Louis Vuitton bags and.
It was a field that I kind of looked into as well. But yeah, going to why I brought up fashion, it's like, we look at old pictures from like maybe 15, 20 years ago, and we're like, what were I thinking wearing that? And design kind of goes with that too. Like,
it's the same thing. It just changes in like different eras, right?
Oh yeah, 15 to 20 years.
Because I'm imagining like a house from the 70s. Like, remember what like kitchens looked like in the 70s?
That's coming back. That's back now.
That's coming back now?
All this stuff from the 70s.
Yeah, like what is it now? Like what was the... I do remember like shag carpet and like, I don't know.
I'm not seeing a lot of shag carpet coming back, but...
No.
But,
I like those like sunken living rooms. Remember
like the Brady Bunch house?
Yeah, like the Brady Bunch, like this big sunken living room with like...
I'm like, that used to be...
It's kind of dope, actually.
My favorite TV...
That was a good show. Remember, she's like,
yeah, that was the architect.
How will I be a teen model now? She's like, gets hit in the face, by the football, and she's like, oh no,
Marsha.
Yeah, that shit was funny. My mom loved that show because she was kind of like Marsha.
Oh.
Like she kind of looked like her, but like dark hair. I don't know. I think they kind of related to the like. They watched it and like they had a character they related to, so I think she liked Marsha. Like I want to be. I'm Marsha. Kind of like how dudes do, like with we're watching like Ninja Turtles, and it's like I'm Leonardo. You just pick one. You're like I'm this one. It's like what are you talking about? You're on the couch. It's like no, I'm Leonardo, bro. Like, yeah, but no, that show was actually really cool.
No, oh yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, we were latchkey kids, so everything. Who we turned out today. It's a result of.
So what does that term mean, latchkey kid?
Latchkey?
Yeah, I know. So like I've heard that saying before.
Oh, basically, so I think that term derived from kids that would
parents
leave
are
the
working
house,
all the time.
parents were gone, and then you come home and you were still gone. So they let themselves in with their
like
own
kids
keys.
were responsible for their own well-being. Basically, they had their own keys. Mm-hmm. They come and go. Like so, parents were working. The kids had to kind of tend for themselves.
Yeah.
So you're like hanging around watching the TV and like.
A lot
so
of
how many
TV.
siblings?
Yeah. There's just me and my older sister. We're about 3.5 years apart.
Okay, but did you guys kind of take care of each other and stuff, make meals together and stuff if your parents were working a lot? Or?
Yeah, I mean we were only home alone for a few hours and then someone.
Well, I mean, I think we were like that too because like we didn't
like all night.
Right, like our parents were like we had like time to get home and stuff, but like. We could be gone, like, out on our bikes with our friends, like, all day, and they wouldn't really know where we were.
Oh, yeah.
But you had to be, like, back by supper time, or, like, it's so different than now, like, you know where your kids are, like, at all times, right? Like,
oh, yeah, no.
Because how many kids do you guys have?
We have 2.
2. And you have, like, phones for them and everything, so you can keep track of them?
I mean, our oldest has a phone.
Yeah.
Not our 9-year-old yet.
Doesn't need one
Not
yet.
quite.
Yeah. But it is different. Like, isn't that weird how when we were kids, we were just kind of fending for ourselves a lot? Like,
I'm amazed
all
the time at how much freedom we had.
And did you grow up around here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was relatively safe, though.
Born, raised in Bothell.
Because even Bothell wasn't probably... I mean, all the areas here grew a lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, like, when you were a kid, it probably was a little different. Much more small
Huge
town.
Difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I grew up like that way too, but it was a small town. So like anywhere you were in town, you were kind of, somebody had an eye on you, like your parents' friends, like all the families in the town knew each other. And so I always say,
that sense of community then.
Right. I always say you couldn't really act out like no matter where, like if I was being an idiot anywhere and like my friend's dad saw me, it'd be the same as if my own dad saw me. He'd like come over and be like, what? God damn it, boy, what are you doing, you dumbass? Hit you in the head. Like, it wasn't like you had, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like, I think that is good, that level of community, you know?
Yeah, I grew up in a neighborhood, here in the suburbs, and it was like, we had our neighbors were our friends. We knew their parents. I don't know. They say I don't even know who my neighbors are across the street. They have yet to come out of their house and say hi. And
It's kind of weird now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I think maybe at one point we've crossed paths, but
When it's like one of the greatest things you can do as a human is get some kind of community or sense of community. And you guys probably have that with bodybuilding.
oh yeah.
So you do have it, or even like I know you have two daughters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're both like in martial arts, right? Mm-hmm. So you probably get that kind of through that as well.
There's another community there. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's good because you're building communities that way. I feel like.
Oh yeah, we have a karate family. We've got a bodybuilding family. We've got a church family.
Mm-hmm, the church family too. Yep.
Yeah, and then we've got our family, which is huge.
But so it's like even though you don't know your neighbors, you still have all this community around you at least, and I think that's important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Right. So what do you think about fashion now? What's it? Because I do think that's funny. You said how like fashion changes, and so does design. There's different eras. Like you said, the 70s is kind of coming back.
Mm-hmm. You see the wide leg bell bottoms, high waisted jeans.
Those are coming back.
Oh, you need to walk into a Target.
I should. I need to go watch some fashion shows. I'm out of date.
You don't even know that you don't even. Well, if you're talking about runway, that's a totally different kind of a thing.
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about models and how they're actually kind of healthier now. That's what Tiana was saying. Like, she thought models have kind of like, because when we were kids, models were like, looked like they were on coke. Remember? They were like as skinny as like a coat hanger. I don't know if you remember, or was that just my era?
Yeah, no,
They're almost like
saying.
too skinny or something.
I hope it's shifting.
Yeah, I think it's gotten better.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. I don't really know that much, but that's what Tiana was telling me, so I'm just going to believe her because she's young. She's probably in tune with it all,
Yeah.
So I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I can't.
It's funny, though, when you look back at, like, the 2000s era, and, like, you remember, like, being in that era, and then you look back, and you're like, you don't think that that's ever going to be out of date, and you look back now, and you're like, oh, my God, it's so dated. Like, all the clothes and stuff. And it doesn't even seem that long ago, but it's like, I'm like, dang, that's really, or even, like, 2010 now, it's like, dang, that's a while ago,
Right, yeah.
And that doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like to, I think that's where maybe I'm in the right career because I feel like I have a gift of kind of projecting and, seeing where trends are moving towards.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I have clothes in my closet that I've had for over 10 years and they're still okay.
Right. So you're in tune with it.
Yeah.
And then if you're working in it, you can kind of help direct it too in a way, right? Like put styles together or
directing it in like it, when I'm, working with a client and they're asking questions like, well, is this going to go out of style? I really like that. I do try to, guide them and help them make a decision that's going to add value from years.
Right, so it's not just going to be out of date. Like it's trendy right now, and it's going to be out of date.
And then have them regret spending all that money on something that 2-3 years from now, it's like...
Because it was the hot thing just right now. So then that's when you kind of go for more traditional stuff. You're like, well, this is going to stay in style a lot longer.
Yeah.
Right? It's like... So have you ever had a client where they've just completely wanted something that you thought was totally stupid or... and had to try to like...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's their home.
Yep, so they get to do what they want.
They have to live in it, and I'm just, I'm just a guide.
Yep, you're just a spirit guide, just guiding them to the right.
Helping them not make costly mistakes.
Right, because, so like, if you make a mistake with that, like, it can end up costing a lot to fix, huh? Yeah, if something goes wrong or like, I imagine, because I mean that's how like construction is and stuff too. Like one little thing can end up being like a lot of wasted time and money and like
Absolutely.
That's like when my people quote, how much the job's going to be. It's always, you could end up way more. They have to kind of give themselves a cushion. I imagine you guys have to do that too. Like
all the time. Yeah. No, you're always going to, it's smart for the consumer to always get a couple bids, get 2 or 3, but don't overdo it and go try to get 10 different bids from 10 different contractors.
Yes.
But I mean, it's like if you're going to go and buy a house, you obviously know what your budget is. You have, I don't know what it is. When people want to buy a house, they have a budget and they're happy to share with their real estate agent what their budget is.
Yeah.
But when it comes to interior design or contractors, they don't want to tell you. So you don't have really any, parameters.
Right.
We're looking at, this or that, and we don't want to show you something you can't afford.
Right.
We don't want to present something to you that is outside of your budget. So we have a lot of things that we have to consider outside of just, making it look nice.
Yeah.
And making it functional.
You have to work in there.
We have to think about,
this is what your budget is. So if somebody had an idea, you're like, well, if we have this much budget, we could do this thing. But if we have this much budget, then we only have so many options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 99.9% of the time, the ones who go with the contractor that presented the lowest bid, they end up paying what the other contractor was going to do it for because of all the mistakes and all the change orders and it didn't include that in the contract, we're gonna have to add this. So they end up paying double anyways.
So sometimes the low bid's not always the one to go with them.
No, and then they don't warranty their work, and then so
it's kind of like a lot of things, you kind of get what you pay for.
Yeah.
So if you cheap out, you're gonna be, in the long run, it's not worth it.
Probably not in a good place.
Right. That's like a lot of things in life.
But I kind of get it. I think there's this, contractors, some have given, the industry a bad name because
there's probably some shady ones out
so
there,
many,
I'm sure.
shady things that have gone on. So, I've been I've experienced construction fraud personally as a consumer. So it's kind of, what's cool is I can take that experience and educate my client on how to avoid those kind of things, and I have more empathy.
Just like shady contractors, huh?
Dang.
Yeah. Scamming people.
Yeah. So
that's brutal.
Yeah, kind of like with bodybuilding,
Is there a lot of scams there too?
Not necessarily scams, but you have that, I had a bad experience with this coach and they tried to do this and blah, blah. But, if you're a good coach, then you have to make up for what that bad coach didn't do.
Oh, yeah.
I
imagine.
All of a sudden you have to change the whole attitude and outlook of what people think about bodybuilding coaches.
Right. That's kind of like...
you have to make yourself an exception.
Yeah, we've had some stories like that, actually, I think, yeah. Right.
Plenty of stories.
Oh, yeah, I imagine. So also, you've been around the bodybuilding industry for what, over 20-some years?
Getting there.
With Mark?
Well, we've been together we just celebrated our 20th.
Congrats. That's
wedding anniversary.
That's amazing in itself, yeah.
But we've been together since 96.
Yeah. Dang, yeah.
So yeah, he started competing in 2000. And
okay, so that's
we're
quite
looking
a few
at 23 years.
Yeah. Is that something you enjoy? Being around it?
I really do.
Yeah.
I do because our kids have grown up in it.
Yeah.
It's our life. It really is part of our life.
Yeah.
We've always made it a family thing. We have a family, like a very tight bodybuilding family.
Right.
Not just our competitors and our athletes, but just other we have
Right.
relationships
The whole
with
community
other
becomes like a
coaches,
family.
promoters. Yeah, they're just an extended family of ours. And what I what I love about it is I even though Mark and I are in two totally different careers, there's some similarities.
Yeah.
We're both trying to create big transformations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Right.
doing it in homes
With physical objects.
Yeah, but he's doing it with people, and so there's a lot of things that he'll talk about. I totally understand, and things that he goes through. It's like, oh, I just dealt with that today.
So it's like it's weirdly like the bodybuilding thing is weirdly close to art then.
Actually,
there's a lot of
it is.
similarities with art. Yeah.
Yeah, I always I look at it more, and Mark would agree with me when I'm saying this. It actually is more of, if you're a bodybuilding coach, you are an artist.
Yeah.
You're more of an artist than you are an athlete.
Yeah, I would say.
I would say bodybuilding is,
especially in bodybuilding,
Oh, yeah.
more so than like powerlifting or any other.
Yeah, I don't even know how it falls under sport.
Yeah.
Because it's not like a performance-based sport. Like, you can't out-bodybuild somebody.
It's really just manipulating variables to create a look on a body.
Right. I mean,
right? It's weird.
It's subjective, kind of like a beauty pageant, really, but with more muscles and
right.
more
It's
clothes.
you hear that, guys? It's just a beauty pageant.
You are.
I mean, it kind
Guys
of
and
is.
girls.
It kind of is, right?
Yep.
In a sense. But it is weird because you're right. It's like manipulating tiny variables and like, it's pretty wild. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it probably is similar to like, I mean, that's what you're doing when you're designing.
Yeah, where you're asking the why. Why do you want to do this? What are you trying to get out of it? What are we trying to accomplish? So the way, the questions I ask my clients, they might be more, design oriented, but we're both looking for solutions for that individual.
And you have to like communicate with them, talk to them to kind of get the right plan. That's how you're going to know like how you can help them create the solutions to what they want, right? So like so communication is probably a big thing.
It's huge. Yeah. I would say the construction process, it's almost identical to trying to get on stage.
Right.
Because it starts with your foundation.
Uh-huh.
Okay, what am I looking at? What do we have to work with?
So like in bodybuilding, that would be like just the basic start.
Yeah, I mean, it's like,
this is your frame. This is what we got to work with.
This is what we have to work with. What can we do to make it better? Mm-hmm. And then it has its ups and downs, just like what our athletes have to go through in their prep. So it's like, oh, I'm all excited to do this. Let's go, and I'm on the same page as you. And then you have that moment.
Yeah, what's that moment? Like when they're like starving and they're halfway through and all they want to do is go to like McDonald's or something. Like,
right. Well, you see, it's more like
their
changes.
Their will starts like, it gets harder and harder to stay strong. Yeah.
And I'm sure, what you're putting in your body, it has a lot to do with those emotional ups and downs.
Right.
But the timeline in the order of events in which things take place, it's almost exactly the same thing. So there's so many correlations, like, so bodybuilding, you find a coach. In my world, you find a contractor.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a goal. You want something to look a certain way.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Well, in bodybuilding, your physique.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
In ours, it's the house. And so, you put together a plan, you discuss the plan, you agree on the plan, and then it's like everyone's all excited, let's go. And then you start to see some changes.
Yeah.
Right? It's a little ugly at first, just like construction.
Yeah.
Big demo, that's not the prettiest part of the
Okay.
project, right? But, it's neither is the beginning phase of prep, right? It's pretty messy. And then you finally start to get into your little routine, and then you start to see changes.
Right.
Right?
Results.
All of a sudden, your clothes are fitting differently, and you're looking at yourself in the mirror, and you're feeling a little bit better.
Yeah.
And then all of it, and just like in the house, like, oh, I'm starting to see the colors are coming together.
You can
this
start
is
to see the
changing.
bigger picture.
Yeah, a little bit, but then there's that plateau.
Yeah.
no one's showing up at your house for a few days because there's just this lull of, we're waiting for things to come in.
Right.
This sub has to do this part and we can't do that until this one comes in. So there's this time where it's just kind of dead. And in bodybuilding, you hit that plateau, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, communication throughout that process is critical.
Right. So
Yeah.
keeping people from kind of getting like losing faith or getting down about it, like, because you've seen the process so many times. You're like, just wait it out, trust the process. Eventually the finished product is going to be how you wanted it. Like, I know right now it's not seeming like it, but trust me, I've seen this a few times. It's going to be like that. And so you've seen that in both worlds a bunch of times. So like, you probably know a lot about the process.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
and it's that, it's learning how to trust that process.
Right. That is tough.
You can apply that in any area of your life.
Yeah, like having a plan, because you don't always see results right away. And you feel kind of defeated sometimes. But it's like, if you just keep going, if you just keep doing what you're supposed to, all of a sudden it'll work. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It'll be there. But if you second guess it all the time along the way, and you question it all the time, and you make changes you shouldn't make, because you're like in your own head or thinking too much. That can be.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of factors I think that go into that. So it's like we're in this digital age. Everything is so instant.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And so there's instant gratification, just everything microwave mentality. I want it
Right.
now. Just over the years, people become less and less patient.
Has that something that you've noticed a lot?
Absolutely.
A big change?
A big change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, maybe people used to understand timelines, how things worked a little better. And we're like the click of a button generation.
If you don't
now.
get it now, then something's.
I feel like people are like that with fitness. Like, they think they can just like click a button and make it happen, but it's like something that takes a long time. We were talking about that yesterday. Like, I mean, real transformation can take years,
Right.
depending on where you're starting from, and like, people don't like to think in those long term.
Well, I mean, there's two transformations that need to take place, right? There's the physical, but there's the mental
as well.
Emotional.
What do you think about the mental one? What's the hardest challenges have you seen some really tough, like, during prep, some people like really having a hard time with it, and
It's
different for every person, I imagine.
it's different for every person. It's you. So we're parents, right?
Right.
So we know what it's like to have, each child be different.
Yeah.
They have their own personality.
Are they both so
learn
different?
things
Yeah.
Well, so our youngest persona is a lot like me, and in many ways, but in some ways like her dad. But our oldest, very much like her dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I can't talk to my youngest the way I talk to my oldest, and I can't, and vice versa. We have to treat them as individuals. So there's no one size fits all.
Yeah.
And so our athletes deal with their journey differently from others. But there's also and that's why the why are you doing this is so important, because someone might be the personality that I really want to take it all the way and get my pro card, and then there's those that just it's a bucket list kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's
just a
I'm
goal.
turning 50 and I want to be able to look and feel a certain way and be, I've always wanted to do this, but I never had the time or the,
Right.
headspace to do it. And now I can. So, you're going to coach those people differently
Yeah.
than somebody else. But yeah, the emotional ups and downs, I think I've never competed before.
Right.
But watching my husband go through what he went through to do it. Now, see, a lot of people might not know, but when I met him, he wasn't a bodybuilder.
Yeah. So, and do
So,
you like the bodybuilding thing, or is there times where you're just like, man, I wish he would just quit doing this?
oh yeah, there's those moments too.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm sure sometimes, right?
I'm not gonna lie.
Like, man, life would be a lot more fun if you just quit doing this. But I'm sure you also see like the passion for it and everything. But so,
I
is
yeah.
that hard? Like going through those things with them sometimes, like it's challenging.
It well, it goes. We can get real deep in here, but it
Oh
goes.
yeah, we always get
Yeah,
deep.
it goes
Yeah.
into, marriage.
Yes.
And are you both in alignment with your dreams and your goals, and really, being there to support your significant other in what they want, they see is a purpose for their life.
Right.
And it for him to just not do something that he's so passionate about just because how I feel about it,
Right.
that's going to create strain in our relationship big time.
Right. So it's a thing where well, the way I view couples is that like they should each support each other in their passion. Like, because if I end up in a relationship eventually, and I want to someday, like I want it to be very much like two people with their own passions and goals, but supporting each other together. Not so much of I guess like codependent, less codependent, but more like supportive, but you both have your own things, but you help each other with it. I don't know. Like I've seen some actual like, couples that are kind of very unhealthy where like one of them does keep the other one like from, maybe reaching the heights that they could instead of pushing them towards those and wanting the best for them. You know what I mean? Like I've seen that too. So that's like something I don't want,
Yeah.
It's but at the same time you have to like give each other time too. Like you can't just be totally selfish and only self-absorbed with all of your own goals and like never have time for the other person, right? So it's like a
Right.
balancing act.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I don't know if our relationship would have ended up differently if had I met him already as a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But going back to when I met him, he wasn't a bodybuilder. He wasn't even bodybuilding. He was just
Going
working
to the
out
gym.
in the gym.
Yeah.
Right. You know his story.
Right.
But so I felt like I was a part of that journey.
Yeah, so you
With
were
him.
along
So
for the ride the whole time.
The whole time from beginning, and the questions he was asking were the same questions I was asking of his coach. And the concerns he had were the same concerns that I had, and so we really did travel that road together. Versus if I had just met him later in life, and then, oh, by the way, I'm a bodybuilder, and then being where I happen to be at that point in my life,
Who knows,
it would be,
yeah.
I could see how that's a little bit tough. And
Do you think girls like bodybuilders? Or not really?
I girls like
There's so many fun, there's
bodybuilders.
like so many memes of like, like dudes' expectations getting in bodybuilding, and they in their head they have just surrounded by all these girls, and then it shows like the reality and it's just a bunch of dudes like, hey, nice body, bro, like, so it's like expectation, they're surrounded by chicks. Reality,
That would
it's
be a
just a
good
bunch
meme.
of dudes in your DM like, bro, you're jacked, huh? Like,
Yeah, I think
I think girls care about it less than we think they do. It's my point sometimes.
I'm not gonna say that women
I think some women are definitely into it though.
don't find. Yeah, there's some women that find that attractive, and there are some women that don't find that attractive.
I think you're right. Yeah, it just
And,
depends, right?
Yeah, it just really all depends. I actually personally like Mark's physique when he's off season
Yeah.
versus when he's all, just
Super-
Skeletor face, lean, 2% body fat.
Now, does that get hard? Does that get hard for you to watch during that period when he's kind of starving and everything? Are you been through it enough? You're used to it.
I, you know, I don't know if it ever me ever being concerned about him ever goes away.
It's always,
It's
yeah.
I mean it.
But that's kind of what
He's
love
lucky
is,
I
right?
wasn't there at the USA's when he
Is that the one reason
when
the
he had to
sauna?
lose
Like,
15 pounds.
yeah,
In
like you're
24
killing
hours.
yourself. Stop. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? Yeah, yeah.
I would have been the first person to run into that
Like,
sauna
you just
and,
stop this right now. Yeah.
and pull him out of there.
Well, that's like normal concern. That's like love, you know? It's like, I feel like it's the same reason that
I,
like a mother worries about her kids, but sometimes the kid needs to go do the hard thing, but the mom's always going to be like, I don't want you to get hurt. But sometimes they need to go out and like get bruised up or skin their knees to like learn, you know?
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think it's a natural instinct to try to protect someone you love, right?
Well, I think what made it easy for me was I trusted his coaches,
So good coaches makes you feel a lot better about it.
right?
Where if he had some like shady coach, you'd be like feel much worse, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, it was if I didn't trust the hands that were guiding him through that process, it would have been really difficult.
Right, because
So
he's
it took
had
a lot of faith.
good coaches that actually care about him as a person, and yeah. What do you think it is that makes a good coach?
Well, what makes a good coach in this sport?
Right.
Well, it takes leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah, a good coach is a good leader. What made a good coach in bodybuilding, I think, is someone who is genuinely interested in the person's health.
Yes. That's big.
Yeah, that's something that, there's a reason why Mark has stayed a natural bodybuilder all his life. Well, one, I wouldn't let him,
Yeah.
when I go to that side because
Right. Well, because it can be a dangerous sport.
well, and
You know?
it's. I mean, I kind of approach my health pretty holistically in general, anyways.
Yeah.
I'm not, big on, pharma. Like I really try.
Oh, me neither.
I try to like approach my health on.
I mean, I think we need it sometimes, but
natural way.
the stuff that they try to sell you as like, it's kind of ridiculous.
Well, I grew up with parents who were you have a cough or a sore throat, go to the doctor. It was like everything was like go to the doctor, and it was just trust medicine, trust the doctors, and all that. And I do
I do too.
I do trust good doctors, and I do trust medicine.
I think we definitely need it. I think it's big.
Yeah, it's absolutely important. I mean, I still get annual physicals and all that kind of stuff. My kids, are healthy, and they have their
Right.
checkups and everything like that. But
But when like
there's-
70% of ads on TV are pharmaceutical, it's kind of like, it's like,
my dad went to the ER for something, and then I think no, my mom went to the ER for something, stomach pains.
yeah.
And she came back with like 4 different prescriptions. One of them was oxycodone. And I was
like-
like, what?
We can sell those. No, I'm just kidding.
I was just like, we're in this society where it's so easy to just prescribe
I know.
something, and it goes back to quick fix.
You're right. You're right. I agree.
And there's a time and a place, for medicine, but
My mom had a horrible time with they put her on this anti-anxiety medication, and they ended up having to take her off it, and it was horrible. I
Yeah.
mean, she got this like she couldn't sleep, and it was giving her these horrible panic attacks, and it was causing her heart to race and everything, and all. And they finally were able to, but you can't just quit it, because if you quit it, there's consequences too. So
Sure.
they had to wean her off it slowly, and then it still took her like 6 months after getting off of it to start feeling normal again. And so she has a hard time trusting pharma after that,
Yeah.
because it's like, how did I'd listen to them, and they put me on this horrible thing that made it much worse than, so it's like, so we should trust them, and I'm thankful we, live in a time where we have all this modern medicine, but sometimes I think you're right. It's like, do I really need all this, or is it, yeah, I'm into
Yeah.
that holistic stuff too sometimes a
Yeah.
little bit,
so I mean, back to bodybuilding.
Right.
It was, I saw, Mark and I getting married, being together forever.
Yeah.
And so, I'm like, I'm not going to have you, on this stuff. You know nothing about how it's going to affect you. And I want to have kids. And it was like,
Yeah,
we
'cause
had
that can
these
affect that
discussions.
too,
Yeah,
right.
I mean, we had real life discussions then, even
Yeah.
when we weren't even engaged yet, I don't think. Or maybe we will. We were. Actually, we were engaged. But, I mean,
But that's probably
we
good that
knew
you talked about all that stuff.
yeah, we knew that, to do this was going to require lifestyle change. And, not against any, competitor that wants to use that, but that was
Right.
our choice.
Yeah.
And, it's just,
Well,
one
it's the
of,
choice everybody has to make. Like you said, nothing against anybody because it's, the reality of the sport. Like it is what it is. But yeah, you got to think about that stuff because it's all fun when you're young, but there are consequences for like everything we do, right?
and, I don't know, there's, what the stuff is out there now compared to what it was 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, and I always wonder just in general what bodybuilding, like.
I could literally talk about bodybuilding all day. This is how long I've been in the industry. Like, I could sit and talk about bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do for like 2 more hours. No.
My husband was so proud.
Yeah, well, it's funny because it's like I do think about that because I see some bodybuilders after they retire that look great. And then there's other ones that like, I'm like, you think about like how big would you actually want to get and like do you want to look like some of them have a hard time when they get older because they took their body to such an extreme.
Yeah.
Like Mark looks like when he's older he's gonna be fine, like he can get his body to a normal healthy spot. And that's why I don't know, some of these dudes that are huge, I don't know what they're gonna look like when they're really old. I mean, maybe it doesn't matter because you're chasing your dream anyway, so like I say go for it, go after your dream anyway, like. But I think like it's important to think about that.
Yeah.
Like later in life, like what kind of quality of life do you want when you're like 80 or 90, like
if you make it that far.
And if you're doing some hard stuff, who knows if you'll make it that far,
What's the average lifespan these days?
I don't know.
One,
But it's got to be harder on bodybuilders is what I think,
Yeah, I mean, it's
I'm looking at Stallone. That's like I'm like
goals.
Yeah. I'm like if I can just manage to look like Stallone when I'm 60, because he was still doing he's still killing it now, and he's like in his 70s, so I'm like, okay, if that guy can do it,
Yeah.
I'm like let's plan on that, try to live up to that.
Chuck Norris?
Chuck Norris looks great too, doesn't he? Yeah.
What is he, like almost 80? He's like in his
Probably, yeah. There's some dudes that they stayed healthy into their late life,
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So, I mean, it just really all depends on, you got your short-term goals, and then your bucket list things, and then you have your long-term goals.
Right.
So, my approach in life has always just been, live today, obviously.
Stay in the present.
Yeah. Be in the present. But, definitely make sure that what you're doing today, that you understand how it's going to affect tomorrow, because tomorrow is what's going to be the next step into what the next day after that's going to look like, and the next day after that. There's consequences.
Yeah, so long-term thinking versus short-term thinking.
Decision we make.
Yeah. Well, even like when you're dieting or working on, for bodybuilding, it's like that's like the decision you have to make with food. It's like, okay, that's a bad decision right now. Do you make that and screw yourself over for this week's weigh-in, or do you just have self-control? Or like, I remember Mark was telling that story about, I can't remember what the food was, but he's like, that looks like second place or whatever. And he had to like throw it in the garbage, and he like took the video of it and stuff. Well, you know what I'm saying?
One
like
of his competitors had waffles or something.
Yeah, like waffles or something. He's like, what are you doing? And it's like, so that's like short-term thinking, which is like, dopamine, I'm hungry, here's a waffle with syrup, it's delicious, I want that pleasure in my mouth, I want to do that, I want to eat it. That's a short term. But you have to think like about long term, which is the goal of the show. So like you make your decision based on long term versus the short term want of eating, so that's, it's tough, but in life, you kind of have to start doing that at some point too, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like when you're young, I feel like you can just like kind of go like day to day and make decisions, but like you start getting older, you have to start planning a little more.
Right.
Like,
Right.
yeah.
You know, it requires planning. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's tough.
We're, our oldest is at that age where, she could leave the house now if she wants.
Really? What is she, 18?
She's 20.
Oh, 20. Oh my God.
20 in June.
Okay.
So this year, yeah, that's only 6 months from now.
So probably college and like.
Yeah, she's in beauty school studying to be an esthetician. Yeah.
That's dope. That's what my mom did. She was a hairdresser. Like.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah.
So it's a good. I mean, it's a good. I think you can make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah.
Is that like hair? They do hair and stuff. Or
Well, cosmetology, they do hair.
Okay.
And with aesthetics, they're more, it's about the skin.
Okay, so like
and
skin health and everything too.
Yeah, they're doing, it's like we're talking about facials.
There's a
and
lot of
waxing and microblading.
Right.
Eyelashes.
I mean,
all that stuff.
We're in the right place for it too. Cuz it's like a lot of people here and there's a lot of people that want those things done and like you can make some good money doing that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
what we will pay to
Well, just
look a certain
to try to look
way.
good. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, or to not, I don't know if, to not age.
That's
I don't know
a huge market
Are we
here.
afraid of,
Yeah,
wrinkles?
I'm
and
probably going to
looking
get some
old?
Botox in a couple of years myself. Start shooting some. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of money in that too.
Right, there is. No, but I feel like we are in an area here, because I'm from like little small town Iowa where there's like nothing, like it is like pretty much anything you want is around here. It's wild. Like I know you guys grew up around here, so it's like, but for me it's like weird how like everything's available. Even the way like the weed shops are legal here, and I don't even smoke weed, but just the idea that like, like where I'm from, it's still like kind of taboo.
Oh, Iowa, right?
Iowa, little small town Iowa. I mean, they might
Farm town.
right, farm town, corn.
No
and,
weed.
There's weed. I mean, people smoke weed.
not
It's
legal.
just like they hide it. It's like I think it's getting more legal there too now, though. With like a lot more medical. Like I know my friend, my wrestling promoter. I think he was saying like his wife can get it. Medical marijuana. So like I don't know. It's changing.
Yeah.
But there's everything here.
Yeah.
So yeah, Botox, all that stuff. What's your thoughts on that?
What are my thoughts on Botox?
Yeah, do what you want, or is it like natural aging is where it's at?
It's. Oh, I will probably never touch it.
Right.
To be honest, I hope that I will continue to be secure in my own body, as long as I can, and so that I won't feel like I have to resort.
Right, because it's a natural part of life, right?
Yeah, I mean, my husband knows what I look like.
Yeah.
I think he would think it would be funny if all of a sudden
You just come home.
I just came home.
Come home and you're like this.
looking like a certain way.
She just comes home. Oh, hey, Mark. What's going on? Just like lips up.
Oh yeah, I mean, I took a picture of myself with a filter one time.
Oh yeah, there's that filter that puts some big ass lips on you. We were doing that at work. I went to my coworker one time. I'm like, oh, we gotta get you down to the clinic, baby. I was like, we need to get some lips on. I was like, doc, we just like joked like that at work. I'm like, ooh, we're taking you to the clinic. She was like, oh my God. But she's like, God, this filter makes me look great. But then we use that one that it does not make you look great.
Yeah.
It makes you look like just these huge ass lips, like that shit's wild.
I don't know.
I do love that actress though, the White Lotus. You guys watch that at all? Do you guys have HBO? Mm-hmm. Oh, you got to watch White Lotus.
We used to.
So it's White Lotus season 1 and 2, and it's that girl that played
series?
Stifler's mom.
Oh, didn't she get an Oscar?
Yeah, she's made a huge comeback from playing, and she is just like. But
Was
she
that
looks,
how she was in the movie or for real?
Well, she has a lot of plastic surgery, but she looks really good with it, and,
Okay.
and I mean it's kind of part of her gimmick,
Yeah.
But she's hilarious in that show.
I do. I like her. Yes.
If you
She'll
want to,
forever be Stifler's mom.
right? She is Stifler's mom. If you ever want a good show to watch, so hit up White Lotus. It's
Okay.
so funny. Just like both seasons, and so each season is different. Like she's the only repeating cast member from the first season, and she's in the second season. So it's like a hotel, White Lotus, but it's just like comedy, like the stuff that goes down. I don't even know how to describe it, but if you get a chance, it's. My coworker told me to watch it, and I was like, whatever, I'm not gonna listen to you. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh my god, that was so funny. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to you on every suggestion from now on.
Funny. Yeah, no, I'm always down for.
Now you guys watch
watching
shows as
yeah.
a couple, don't you? Like, what do you guys like to watch?
Well, let's see.
Do you guys have some shows you would like to watch as a couple? Is that like a thing?
The only thing right now is Yellowstone.
Oh, that's a great show.
So we're on season 5.
What do you think about Kevin
Yeah.
Costner? I think he's the shit.
I love his character.
Yeah.
I've always been a Kevin Costner fan.
Yeah, I think ever since like Dances with Wolves and like I've just always been, or like even that Robin Hood movie.
Yeah, I've always liked.
Remember
Kevin
with that
Costner.
Bryan Adams song? Remember that shit? What was that song? It's like, look into your heart.
There you go.
You will see. Damn, that was a banger back in the day.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I just nostalgia.
That was old school.
But that was a long ass movie. That movie.
Oh, I used to love that when I was a kid.
That dragged.
Remember that witch?
Wasn't
She
it like
had like
4
some weird,
hours
like
long?
she threw all that weird stuff in that pan, and she was like, I don't know. That was a wild movie back in the day.
I like him in Bodyguard.
Oh, dude,
So
that was like the
that's
best.
The Kevin Costner.
And like Whitney in that movie and that song.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause
that's one of my favorite movies.
we're similar in age. I don't think people realize how big that movie and that song were. Like, it is. When I used to work at the bar in Iowa, there would be this huge group of rugby dudes, like the manliest dudes you've ever seen. Big ass, like jack dudes. They just got done playing rugby. They're sitting around a table. And they would go to the jukebox and they would play, like, I think one of the songs was Bohemian Rhapsody, but the other song they'd play, and they had pitchers of beer, and they're all just getting drunk, and they're these huge dudes, and they would put that Whitney Houston I Will Always Love You song on, and they would hit, like, every high note. They're just like, ooh. It's so funny.
Yeah, now it's back in the theaters, or at least Whitney's story is.
Oh, yeah, I definitely want to see that.
Yeah. You do want to see it?
Well,
I don't know if it's like a chick flick.
Is it a chick flick?
I don't know.
We were
I'm
talking
gonna make
about.
Mark watch it.
We were talking about chick flicks last time.
He loves chick flicks.
I do like some like 10 How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
One of my favorites.
We were saying that one with Sandra Bullock or whatever.
Proposal?
The Proposal. That was a good one. Oh, Pretty Woman.
Yep.
So that was my favorite because, I told you my grandma has the same name as you, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
my
right.
grandma Loraine. Shout out to
Yeah,
Grandma
yeah.
Loraine. So she only had like a few movies, and like one of them was like, it was like on VHS, Pretty Woman. So we always, which is kind of funny. We're like at our grandma's house watching this show about a prostitute when we're like 10 or 11.
Right?
But it's like,
I know. I was
that's
like,
what the
wait a
90s were
second.
like, though. It's like,
How did I get away with like watching this movie before?
it was just, things were different then. It was just like, well, it's a movie about a prostitute, but it's like a happy ending. So it's like, it wasn't really that dirty or anything. But it is funny when you think back to the stuff we watched.
Well, I think our mindset was different.
It was different back then. We were
Then.
used to more things, I feel like.
Like 16 Candles, I think, was rated R.
Yeah. And kids watched it all the time.
Yeah.
Like little girls were watching it. Yeah. It was different. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't perceive things then the way that maybe.
You would now.
Well, and
Like
there
things
was
have
still-
definitely changed, I feel like. Yeah.
like movies then, there was still some guessing. Now they just put it all out there.
Oh, yeah.
There's some mystery.
Even
There's-
the movies then, they weren't really. Like, even Pretty Woman, it's
Yeah.
about a prostitute, but was it really even that? It was like PG-13. It wasn't like a bad movie or anything.
Yeah, I mean, it
But that's funny. My grandma loved that movie. It was like that. We had that movie there, and then like that. I think it was called We're Back. It was like some like cartoon dinosaur movie. I'm like, those were about the only two options, Then she got more. She got more movies as as we got older. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just funny. Yeah, she always had Pretty Woman. I think she really liked Julia Roberts Because then she had the Runaway Bride, I think. That was the other one she had.
That was not one of my favorite Julia Roberts movies, though.
Or what's that one with...
Cameron Diaz.
Is that?
My Best Friend's Wedding.
Yeah, that my sister used to love that. That's a chick flick. And
Yeah,
my
yeah,
sister
yeah.
used to watch that over and over again. Yeah, that was kind of a
Love
good
that one,
flick,
too.
I feel like. Julia Roberts, she's kind of an OG. Like old school.
She's still
Killing
kicking it. Yeah, I mean, it's like she's got...
How are all
that
the, like...
one with George Clooney. That
Yeah.
one in the theaters that just...
How are all these actors from like our childhood still like... Look at like
They're
Julia
still relevant.
Roberts. Look at like Demi Moore. Look at... Who else am I thinking
I feel
of?
that Bruce Willis, though, man.
That's sad. That's
sad.
really sad because I love Bruce Willis
know.
movies. I was just watching The Expendables the other day.
Oh, it was on TV.
I love those
Yeah.
movies. They're so cheesy, but I absolutely love them. You know, you got all the big hitters in there,
Yeah.
like, and Bruce Willis was in it too. And I saw that scene, and I was like, man, I hope he's doing okay
I know.
because
Yeah.
he was good. He's
I
good.
just feel like, I don't know about you, but just my childhood
yeah.
is like all those celebrities.
Everyone's
and everyone
passing
that
away.
I known, I was like, yeah, just...
Just in the last few
Going
years,
away.
I feel like people our age are like, oh, because like time all of a sudden is like, holy shit. We're like, oh, we are getting older because like everybody we know is like starting, like Kirstie Alley went down.
I
The lady
know.
from Greece, what's her
Yeah.
name?
Olivia Newton.
Olivia Newton-John. All these people. I don't know if you know David. I heard David Crosby just passed away. You might not know him. He was like an old school hippie dude. Like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh,
One of those dudes from that band. I think he just passed away today.
today
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like it seems like every few days.
there's somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, another one. You know, well, we lost Prince, Tom Petty. It's crazy.
Well, Lisa Marie Presley was just...
Lisa Marie Presley. Did you see that Elvis movie?
No.
I heard that's really good.
But now I want to watch it.
And every girl is in love with that guy
Oh, really?
from the Elvis movie. Yeah. Every girl I work with,
Okay.
they're like, oh my God.
I want to see what he looks like not in the Elvis.
Well, I think he's in that
attire,
Top
but-
Gun movie too.
Oh,
I
is
haven't
he
seen
in
the
that?
new one
The
either.
Maverick?
Yeah.
You haven't seen Maverick?
No, is it good? It's on
Oh,
Paramount
yeah,
Plus.
Yeah.
I need to
So
watch.
good.
We have Paramount Plus. I was just watching Beavis and Butthead. Like, there's a new season of Beavis and Butthead on Paramount
What?
Plus. Yeah, it's just as good as the old show. I don't know if you ever liked it, but
The people who do the voiceover.
oh, it's the same guy. Yeah, it's that Mike Judge. Yeah, it's still him. Because he did a lot of movies. Like he did like Office Space. He did. What's that movie where like the pro wrestler is the president? Remember? And it showed like the future where everybody's like they keep putting Gatorade on the crops. Like I think it's Idiocracy. It's called.
Oh, I never watched that one.
But yeah, so he's back with a new season of that, and that's pretty good.
Oh, wow.
But there's a lot of good shows on there. So I think Yellowstone. Yeah.
Yeah, so Yellowstone, that's one of the shows that we're watching. And then My Best Man series.
What's that?
So it's got Ty Diggs in it and Nia Long.
Tay Diggs.
Yeah, Tay Diggs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like a continuation, but it's a series.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of haven't like watched
So
that one for a while. Yellowstone has been keeping us up. Lately.
Oh, it's so good. I know you always. It's like one episode ends and you want to
I
go
think-
right to the next
Yeah,
one.
we
right
stayed
to,
up till 4 a.m. one time watching.
And it's like, man, sleep is the number one thing for health, right? And it's like, here we are, we getting these Netflix series, and it's like, keeps you up. I know, but it's kind of a fun thing to do sometimes. Like,
Sometimes
it's
you
a
have
guilty
to just
pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to just.
And it's a good bonding thing. Like, if you are doing it with somebody, you know, like, I feel like it is a good bonding thing to, like, you know, watch a series with somebody.
Well, we
you know.
normally don't have a lot of time.
No.
So, the kids go to bed, and he's.
Oh, I imagine you
he's
have-
a night owl, anyways. But
Me too. Isn't that weird? Are you a night person or morning?
I'm generally morning, but I'm becoming a night person because that's the only quiet time that I can have usually throughout the day.
I really like getting up early. I feel like,
Unintentional night person.
yeah, it's just because you have no other time, basically. Yeah. I feel like it's like doing the morning thing is actually really healthy for you because it's like you get more productive if you get up at a certain time and I just started training too, personal training as well, and I have a couple clients, and I have to get to the gym by like, it's not that early, but like 8:30. So it is kind of
Your
like,
earliest client's 8:30.
yeah. So that's not bad, but it is like, okay, I can't sleep in,
Right.
because I am more of a night person. I work in a bar. I get off at 10. Usually I'll stay up till maybe midnight, go to sleep in till, I guess even before I was still getting up at like 7 or 7:30.
So you're getting like 6 hours of
I know.
sleep at night. That's not
I feel like I need to get
good.
more, don't I?
Yeah.
I think I really do, actually. I think that might be hurting me, but I'm starting to understand like what you guys go through with, the time, and as I get more clients, I'm going to really have to be, that's probably a big thing, is time management, right? With you guys' life. Because when you have so many clients, like, how do you plan all that? And then you got the kids, and then you got your
Family
job.
calendar.
Yeah, is that what you do?
Google family calendar.
So that, okay, because every time I have you guys, like when I had you on and him, you're both like, we got to put it on the calendar. I'm like, that's smart. Like using a calendar, because like, it's right on your phone. Why not use it,
Yeah, well, before we used to carry around Franklin Covey day planners.
Actual books, yeah.
Yeah, with the tabs of every month and.
I mean,
Yeah.
if it works,
You had to
yeah.
write things
That's
in.
what I'm doing with my clients. I'm still writing all their plans in a notebook and keeping track.
Nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
I kind of like it. Like I'm scheduling them with my phone and everything, but their workouts, I'm tracking everything just in a notebook, because I feel like it's an organic way to do it, and then I can like see where we are, like if they've made progress this week, and there probably is an app for that too, though.
Lots of apps.
That's what I'm so worried about. So I'm getting clients asking me about apps, and I'm like, does everything have to be an app now?
Well,
Like,
if you want to be efficient,
does Mark use an app for his clients?
yes.
Okay, I might have
Yeah.
to talk to him. Because I feel like
But
people
you know what?
really...
That's new as of this year.
Well, I do think
Last
if it's
year
something
we-
my clients are saying they want, I need to, I got to do what they want. So it's
Yeah.
like...
I mean, we've been doing old school ways for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it was when we got our Gmail account, when we put away the paper book planners and went, digital, because we had to share. Because the problem was not being able to have visibility of the other
You got to know
person's
where the other
schedule.
one's doing, or where they're at, or
Yeah. And then when you've got kids and they've got after school activities and extracurricular activities, we need to keep tabs on where everyone's at, so we
Right.
won't, have conflicts. So
Yeah, so Google works. But so why do I get a green bubble from you? What's up with that?
because I'm
What?
an
you hate
Android user.
You hate iPhone? I want that blue bubble popping up on my phone, and I'm getting that green one from you. I'm like, what is up with this? Is it just you like them better? Are you passionate about? There's a lot of people that are passionately one way or the other.
I'm a Google Apps user.
Oh, so is that better on
So-
Androids?
So I feel like it's more user friendly. It's more intuitive for the way my mind, thinks.
There's probably a lot of good things about Androids. We're just I'm so used to iPhones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to like iPhone,
Just
but
couldn't-
because my brain has already
Yep.
programmed itself how to use. I can't even swipe right. I can't. He'll be like, swipe up, swipe up. I'm like, I am swiping.
I'm like, well, you're married. You shouldn't be swiping or anything. Like that's what us single people do. Left, left, left. Ooh, right, left, left.
Right.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's like,
So I'll be like messing with his phone and trying to do something that with my phone it would only take like 10 seconds. Or,
I think they're coming.
No, 2 seconds. Here I am like,
I've
I'm
never
ready
used
to
an
throw
Android,
the phone
so I
across
don't
the
know.
room.
Right. I think it gets really frustrating sometimes when you don't know how to do something. I've done that on this computer because like we lost some episodes. I mean, I think I got it
Wait,
down to
that's a Mac.
Mac, yeah, and there's been issues where like we lost that last episode.
Mark was telling me that on the way.
Oh my god, I feel like every time I have Mark on, it's like, oh sorry, the computer took a shit again, like, and then I have everybody else on. Oh, it worked perfectly, Mark, and then it's like I have him, and it's like, oh, it didn't work again.
Really?
I was like, my
Are
computer.
you gonna lose this one too?
No,
Oh,
it's
no.
not gonna happen. Trust me. I know the secret. The secret is you have to hit stop recording first, and then hit stop streaming. if you hit stop streaming first, sometimes it freezes, and it's like that little circle where it's like, and once it's frozen, I'm sure there's some computer
way to
guy
get
that knows
out.
how to go into the back end and like, oh, the CPU is using too much of this here. We'll shut this down, and I don't know how to do all that, so I'm like,
Watch, it's probably in there somewhere. If you got some computer guy look at it.
I know. I need I need a tech guy to help me out. When this podcast takes off, it's gonna be like 2 cameras, huge studio.
There you go.
We're gonna have a TV right here, so I can like pull stuff up. Like, I think that's gonna be cool. Like if somebody has like, oh, check out my bodybuilding routine from 2016. It's on YouTube. I'll be like, okay, click, and I'll pull it up, and it's like right there, and then we can watch it, talk about it. Or I even thought about, what was that movie someone couldn't believe Mark hadn't seen this movie. And I'm like, we should just do a watch along. I can't remember what it was though.
Oh.
Something like Sam's like, you haven't seen that, bro? And I'm like, we could put a TV here and we could have a watch along live on the podcast. You know, like,
or like sometimes party.
Like, well, you know, people do it like with sports and stuff too, or like fights. They'll watch the fights while they podcast live, you know, and I thought it would be something kind of fun to do, or like watch some old movie and like just joke about it while it's on, you know, like.
Oh, you know what my kids are into? Those reaction videos on YouTube.
They're kind of fun. Who do they watch? There's a group that I watch that they do a lot of funny ones, and I love watching their react videos. Yeah.
What is that one? Sniper Wolf. You ever?
Nope, never heard of that one. Never heard of that one. But kids know stuff on YouTube that we've never heard of.
Our oldest actually dressed as her for Halloween.
Yeah. But they're bigger stars now, the internet people, than any actors or musicians, I think. Like with kids, like my buddy has 2 girls, and he's like telling me that it's like we watch these things together on YouTube. They'll show me like they're so into it. There's a lot of cool stuff on there now.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like Mr. Beast. I don't even know who that is, but he's like the biggest guy on YouTube. He makes he donates tons of money. He's a philanthropist, but like, and I think he makes a lot of videos that are popular with kids. But he'll do these challenge videos and stuff.
Oh, interesting.
It's all like kid friendly stuff, I think, and adult friendly. But I mean, he's huge on there. Like I think he has his own like line of burgers. Yeah, he's like.
What's his name again?
Mr. Beast.
Mr. Beast.
I mean, it's funny because we've never heard of him, but he's like probably one of the most famous people that exist. We just don't know about him because we're like not tuned into that.
I wonder if maybe it's a certain age group.
I think it's a certain age group. Let me look him up really quick.
Yeah, I've got, the 20-year-old or the 19-year-old and the 9-year-old. So
right.
The 9-year-old is exposing the 19-year-old to her stuff, but for the most part, they watch the same kind of stuff. But they're both into K-pop and everything right now.
Yeah, so it says he's known as Mr. Beast, American YouTuber credited with pioneering a genre of YouTube videos that centers on expensive stunts. Who's Mr. Beast and why is he rich? That's so funny. Forbes reported that he made $54 million on YouTube in 2021. With over 10 billion views across all his videos. So, like, we don't even know this guy, but he's the biggest thing on YouTube. Isn't that wild? It's like, kids know stuff. Like, they're on TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff. It's wild.
So it's like, go to college. What do you mean go to college? There's this guy on YouTube doing stunts and he's got 10 billion views.
Well, that's what I mean. And now there's literally, like, how do you tell your kid to go to college when there's people like their age making like millions of dollars being an Instagram model and shit?
Right, or like, influencer. That's the new career.
Influencer. Yeah. It's funny because even when I just took my NASM test to get certified as a trainer, and even like when I was studying for that, it's so funny because in the book, like, it literally lists as one of the realistic job opportunities, like fitness influence. Like it doesn't have that, like that's just, that's a lot, career. Personal trainer, something, fitness influencer, like it's a real online influence. Like it's like, it doesn't even treat it as some like wild thing because so many people are successful at it now. It's just a real career.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a different world we live in now, for sure.
Yeah. You can be an influencer in almost every industry.
Yeah, because like my cousin, she's big into the makeup stuff. Like she moved to Nashville. She's like big into watching that stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of has to do with fashion and everything too.
Yeah.
So do you guys have to be like, for your daughters, like you kind of try to make sure they're not on there too much, or like, what's that like having a kid now with like social media? Is that tough?
I do monitor what they watch. It's, yeah.
I suppose if they're good kids, they're fine.
Well,
You don't have to worry too much, right? Like,
you know, I, I like to think that we raise daughters that have the ability to discern
for themselves.
good from bad and right from wrong.
Right.
And, you know, Malia will have her tablet or somebody's phone, and she'll watch YouTube. And I have the parental, filters on, but still things sneak in there.
Yes.
And she'll listen to something, and there will be like a swear word, but she quickly swipes it. Oh, bad word. Swipes it away.
Yeah.
She just knows that that's inappropriate, but not because she intuitively said, "Oh, that's not good." It's because, we were present at a time when we caught that, and I had to tell her, "You can't watch those kind of videos."
Right.
And I tell her, I'm like, "Don't watch weird people online either."
Yeah. And don't talk to weird people online if someone's trying to talk to you or anything.
Oh, we haven't run. Hopefully, you haven't run into anything like that.
Well, I feel like if you instill like basically self-esteem in your kids, they're gonna be fine, right? Because they're gonna know right or wrong, for the most part.
You still have to. You still have to be present.
Yep.
And
just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, you can't give them too much freedom. Because, I mean, I have no idea, honestly, what they're watching when I'm at work.
Right.
I can't monitor them 24/7, but I do let them know. I can see your search history.
Right.
I can see your watch history.
Yep.
And so I think that scared them.
Right. Like I can look at what you've been looking at.
Yeah. So
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, making them aware that what you do behind closed doors is not always behind closed doors.
Right.
And then of course our faith, that we let them know, you can't hide anything from God. God knows. You might be able to hide from us, but God can see everything.
Right. It's gonna. Yeah, like I feel like
He's omnipresent. So
your guilty conscience. You don't want that. Like.
Yeah. So I think our instilling.
So that's a good sense of community too, right? Like, which church do you guys go to?
So we attend Charisma Christian Center in Linwood.
So that's probably a good sense of community as well.
Oh yeah.
I feel like that's a big one.
Mark and I are heavily involved. So
I was listening to this. They were talking about this study based on people's jobs, like happiness levels, and they were talking about like basically like bankers, lawyers, tech jobs, people that sit behind a desk, like they rate the lowest for happiness usually, and then like the highest rated for happiness were like, actually it's surprising, it's like loggers and like farmers, people that are outdoors. Probably more
in touch with nature.
They had like the highest happiness levels.
Sure.
But they also had in there like religion, having a faith of some kind was help people rate a lot higher in happiness. And I feel like it's probably because of that sense of community and having that moral, having some kind of compass as far as yeah.
Well, I grew up with that instilled in me at a very early age.
Yes.
We always went to church together as a family. But when I developed a relationship with Jesus, that wasn't until way later in life, like high school.
Yeah.
College, when you hit that.
You get older and
place in your life, and you really start to question things.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't like go to church because it was just what we did as a family. Life circumstances make you question certain things. And so my way of dealing with things was something my grandmother instilled in us, was like, if there's a problem that you feel is too big for you to handle, just give it to God.
Yeah.
And then so she really was a big influence in my life as far as my spiritual.
What's your grandma's
foundation.
name?
Trinidad.
Trinidad. Okay.
Yeah, she's no longer with us.
Yeah.
But yeah, she left behind a. If there's anything she left behind in her legacy, it was really making Jesus a
Yeah, I
priority
feel
in
like
our
it's so
lives.
important to like remember those people, our grandparents and stuff, like, because that's the other thing we're talking about as we get older. It's like you just remember those times of being young and how everything that they did for you, and like I don't know how you guys, but like we had such like every year like Christmases were such a big deal, with both both sets of grandparents and everything, and it's like a lot of that world is gone now. And it's like, but you have to remember it. So that's good that you got so much from her, and like,
At,
you know,
at the age that I was, because I'm thankful that she instilled that in us, because it was important to her. It became important to me, and then I knew going into, when I have a family someday,
yeah,
this is going to be how I want to raise, my
right.
kids. I want them to have a solid Christian foundation as well.
Is that something that helps you in like tough times too, to lean on that?
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. I met Mark in 1995.
Yeah.
We started dating in 1996. And he'll tell you that my faith was a big, a pre-qualifier, whether or
Right.
not he was going to qualify to date me or not. And it was like,
Yep.
yeah, if we're not going to agree on this, there's really no point.
Yeah, that's a tough thing. Like people have to be lined up on that, I think, sometimes in order
Well,
to
to
make
me,
it
it was
work.
really important. And
Sometimes people
yeah.
can do it, having different, but it's tough. Like, I mean, this is off topic, but there was this girl that I met at the tanning salon. It's funny, but like, so she was telling me about like her family, like her mom was like a big Trump supporter, and her dad was like a big like hated Trump, and I'm like,
That's almost a religion in itself.
I'm like, how did that? Yeah, that is a religion. So her mom
especially
was like,
these days.
so I guess she was telling me her dad was like super liberal, and then her mom was like wearing the Trump hat and stuff. I'm like, how did that work? I'm like, I need to talk to her more about that, because that sounds like that should be a TV show or something, right? Like,
It does sound like kind of an intro to
yeah,
a
that should
sitcom.
we should write a show. We'll make tons of money off that. Like, dad's a bleeding heart liberal, mom is a right wing, Trump hat wearing conservative. Like, we got a show there.
But I mean, today, if you're on one side or another, it rustles some feathers just as much as talking about religion.
Do you think when we were younger, people cared that much about that stuff compared to today?
I don't think we cared a lot about this stuff.
Because I don't remember people being like, I can't be friends with him, he votes this way. I don't remember that when we were young.
That's social media.
That's what social media's done.
Just media.
Yeah, media in general.
TV news.
Because it's like, there's people that will literally not be friends with one side or the other. And it's like, I just don't remember that from when we were kids.
Yeah.
It is a weird thing.
Well, it goes to show how much our input, what we allow to put in our brain,
That's
how it affects
yeah.
how we think, and how it basically builds and molds our character. So yeah,
we're getting brainwashed by it, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw this meme, and it was like the TV, and it was like a person sitting there and his head was open, and the TV was just dumping trash right into his brain.
Because
And
it's trash.
That's what's going on.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. Why do you think suicide rate is as high as it is these days among young people? Because
Well, we hit on that
exposed
yesterday,
to.
and it is
Yeah.
bad. Like, there's a lot of people out there, like, we're talking about that, how it's so important to reach out if you are having issues. And there's another guy I've had on the podcast, Eddie Lowry, and he was in the Navy, and he's big on that, like with veterans, like because a lot of veterans commit suicide,
PTSD.
and trying to like raise money, raise awareness of that, and it's like that's so sad too. It's just sad when people do that, like.
No, celebrities. I mean,
A lot of celebrities do it. Well, that we were talking about that Twitch guy
I know.
from Ellen, and he's a dude
Yeah.
too, where it's like
How did you get to that
seemed
place?
like he was totally positive, happy guy, and
So sad.
yeah, it is. I don't even know what to think about the stuff.
It just goes to show that, we are living in a filtered society. And what might appear to be real on the outside
Yeah,
isn't really a true reflection of what was really happening on the inside.
right.
So, that's why I'm always like careful on who we allow in our circle.
Yes,
There are some people that belong there, and there's some people that don't, because
Right.
you don't really know someone until you know someone.
they say it can take like 2 years to really get to know someone.
It could take 10 years.
Yeah.
I know my husband, but I'm learning more and more about him
Yeah,
every day.
yeah. So even someone you're with all the time, it's still like a mystery sometimes, right? Like
Well, we're evolving
and changing,
and changing, and the information is coming at us so quickly,
Yeah,
and that's impacting how we think and how we feel. And so that's why we can have our good days and we can have our bad days.
Well, and that's what's weird with social media, right? Everybody's got this like avatar out there of like, this is who I am, but it's like you don't even know how real that is. I mean, that's all kind of we're putting our best out there, Like we're putting our shirtless selfies out there, and it's like, but is that really reality? It's like it's part of reality,
Yeah.
So it is weird. I feel like we're lucky, all of us, like and Mark, you, me, like. Because we were around before all that. So I feel like we kind of have this protection of like knowing that it's just social media.
Absolutely.
It's not a big deal. But like kids growing up with it now, I feel like they, that is affecting suicide rates and stuff. Because like to them, if like
That's
they
life.
somebody
That's-
makes fun of them, a girl makes fun of another girl on social media, it's like end of the world stuff.
Oh,
Whereas if it happens to
yeah.
us, we're like, yeah, it's social media. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it's
Oh.
not real.
But then we get into the topic of bullying.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
So, like, we know who we are without it because we remember a time before it. So, we already had a self identity. Maybe we use it because we have businesses, we're training people, and I enjoy it. I enjoy social media. I like what it does. I like, like Mark uses it for his business.
Yeah.
Very prolific with all the interviews he does. And I feel like, and me with this podcast, I like it. I enjoy it. But you're right, the bullying thing, and like kids don't understand that it's not real. Like to them, their online persona, if someone like pwns them online, like makes fun of them, owns them in front of everybody, like it could be like end of the world stuff to them. And that can be kind of dangerous for sure.
Well, and that's why, again, being a parent, you need to be present, as much as you can in one form or another. You need to have conversations. You need to be aware of how your kid is behaving.
Yeah.
Just, you should know as a parent, like, okay, they seem off.
Right.
They don't look happy, or they
Yep.
don't look like.
Well, and you said you're intuitive anyway, so you might pick up on that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's when I see that happening to my child, it prompts me to be proactive
Uh-huh.
and go up to them and ask them, are you okay? Did
Yeah.
something happen today? Is there something I need to know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many conversations like that happen in the home these days when,
Well, that's a good mom, I think.
mom and dads are so busy and kids are in and
And
out
if
of the
they're
house.
not willing to talk about it, then they hold it on side. So how do
Yeah.
you, as a parent, is that the way, how do you combat like bullying and stuff? Like, how do you teach your kids that like stuff that happens online is not real? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you combat that? Is it just what you said, like talking to them and checking in with them and
Well,
communication, basically?
yeah, I think Mark and I try to always foster a safe environment for them to come to us about anything
That's good.
with no judgment
Right.
and fear. So, I mean, they know that we are the parent. We're not their best friend.
Yes.
So we have a role of authority in the home, but we also want to make sure that whatever we're doing in terms of discipline, they know that we are looking out for their personal, emotional, and spiritual well-being, number one, and just just not being afraid of disappointing us.
So you don't want to be so hard on them that they're scared to like, if something happens, oh shit, I can't tell mom and dad that they'll
Right.
kill me.
Right.
You know, you want to be, I think that's good because it's like, but I also think it's good that those parents that are just friends with their kids, sometimes it's like, you know, then they have no authority figure and that can harm them in certain ways too. I think it's fascinating when I talk to parents because I don't have kids yet, you know, like it's like, I don't know how you guys do it.
Well, and it's not just us. It
It's
takes
cool.
a village.
Right.
It takes a village.
So that's really
back
true,
to the
right?
Community, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that our oldest, when she was in elementary school, that she was bullied
Yeah.
in one of her classrooms until she told me, like, I think a few years later.
And you're like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, but she was 9 when she enrolled in martial arts.
Right.
And so, one of I mean, they learned several skills and habits just being in the martial arts program. And a lot of that, one of the main reasons why I wanted her to enroll and to continue it was because I knew that building confidence, especially her being a girl,
Yeah.
these days especially, was just really important. And just
That's
having a
super
strong
important.
self-esteem, because not for only that, but she also had has a learning disability. I actually didn't tell her she had a learning disability until way later, like until she was in middle school,
Right.
because I didn't want her to think that she was different.
Yeah, what's that thing about like Einstein? Or wasn't there like something like some famous, really intelligent person, I can't remember who, that invented something like there's a story where like his mom gets this note from the teacher and he's like, what did it say? And she told him something like really positive, like, oh, he's like the most, you're too smart or something like that. And like later on, he becomes like an inventor of something great, like something, maybe, I don't even remember what it was, but I could look it up sometime. But like the note
Einstein
actually
effect.
said, yeah, the note actually said like your kid has a learning disability and he's never going to amount to anything. But she didn't tell him that, you know, and luckily she didn't because he ended up being like a crazy good inventor,
There
you
you
know,
go.
like,
Well, we actually had that happen to us.
yeah.
We actually had that happen to us where a speech language therapist told us that our daughter was never going to get over her
And he was wrong.
her issue. Well, she got, even during COVID, straight A's.
Yeah. That's why sometimes you
And
can't listen to
she-
those dudes.
She
Like,
graduated straight A's.
you got to be
and
careful who you listen to.
I'm very, Mark
It's-
and I are, very protective on who we allow our kids to be surrounded by.
It even goes back to like that pharma stuff you're talking about, because sometimes you'll go to like people will go to a doctor and they tell them this, and this. Oh, you'll never. and it takes them finding like the right doctor. Like, oh no, actually we could try this one thing, and they end up like being cured.
Right.
But imagine if they would have stopped at that first doctor's opinion, they would have just given up.
Right.
So I'm talking about people with bad diseases and stuff, where but they find enough. So never trust that first opinion is my point. Like always get like multiple.
Yeah.
You know, because you never
Always
know.
get a second
Somebody might just be like a really bitter, messed up person. They're just like, nope, that's just how it is. It'll never work out. You're never gonna, you know. You got to find the person that's like positive.
Yeah. Yeah. No. So, but yep. So,
But if she's taking that self-defense stuff, you got to be careful too, because like that one, I had that Barb Honchek on here, and she started with self-defense and became a UFC fighter. So you never know. Like,
you're like,
next
dang.
thing you know, she's like starting to get in fights and stuff, and like becomes famous, gets on the UFC. You know, like
Well, you know, you're always gonna have those people that want to take it to another level.
right. That was interesting though. Yeah.
See, Michaela, she's more, she's like her dad, where, you know,
That's the older one.
yeah,
Okay.
the older one.
Yeah.
So her beast side comes out.
I was gonna say when you say more like your dad, what does that mean? What does that mean?
So she's pretty quiet and reserved until she gets to know you,
Mm-hmm.
and then, you know, that inner ninja
Yeah.
comes out when she's in her element.
Okay.
And so that's where like Mark with bodybuilding and stuff.
Sort of
'cause,
that ambition. And,
It just everything that was, you know, they were internalizing. They just let it
Yeah.
all out
Right.
when they So it's been her outlet for 10 years now.
Oh, so she's been in martial arts for 10 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like you're right. That's such a good confidence builder.
And then of course our youngest by default.
She's
ended
in
up
it too,
doing
yeah.
it because she saw her sister doing it.
Probably one of the best things you can do for your kids.
You know, and we didn't choose it for them.
Yeah.
It was actually, you remember Living Social? It was kind of like a Groupon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was like some sort of deal for X amount of classes or something like that, and I think it was for a day camp. And I didn't know what to do with her one day because she didn't have school that day, and so I was like, oh, maybe I'll just enroll her in this day camp. And it was just like a couple hours or maybe half a day,
Right.
and she loved it, fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Didn't want to
good.
give up the uniform that they gave her, and she's been in it ever since. And so now she's training for her 3rd degree black belt.
Oh my God. That's wild.
Yeah.
So that's good too, because then they're going to have self-defense. Because I mean, if I had girls, I would be worried about that too. Like, you know, I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff out there.
Yeah.
You know, so if they have some kind of ability to take care of themselves, it's like, that's a good thing.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't remember how we got into that, but were we talking about bullying or?
Well,
dealing
yeah,
with
just
girls?
I guess bullying is like, I don't know. You kind of gave me your answer, just keeping an eye on them and checking in with them.
Oh yeah, with social media, just
just social media in general. It's pretty wild.
I mean, I could talk about that kind of stuff.
It's
day
great
long.
though. Like I said, for like
it's fascinating.
for bodybuilding
Right?
and like what Mark does and like what I do. It's like it is such a good tool. You know.
But it can be used for evil as
Oh,
well.
100%. I mean, yeah, I think it is like a tool, so it can be used for good or evil. If you're trying to like use it to spread, you know, good things, positive things, you can do that. Or if you're trying to use it to, I don't know, you can do the other stuff too.
You can do the other stuff.
I mean, that's what Twitter is. I think that's like where everybody just shits on each other. It's like, I don't know. Facebook's pretty weird too.
Yeah, it's.
Are you big on Facebook?
You know, that's where I interact with mostly friends and family.
It's pretty great for keeping in touch.
Yeah, if anything, and I'll post some, you know, funny stuff just to, you know, just throw some humor out there. People need to laugh.
I think
Let
so
loose.
too. Yeah, if more
You
people
know?
did that, it'd be better.
But there, you know, what I don't like about it is when you get so and so's opinion and everybody else's opinion.
It's all the
It's
political fighting. Yeah.
just the opinions in general that go through there. And so
I know.
I've just learned to just keep scrolling and ignore all
Oh,
of
I don't
that
get
kind
in
of
any
stuff.
kind of. I never get in political arguments or fight. I'm always like, nope, stay out of it, like, because it's like just not worth your time.
But no one has the time anymore these days to do that.
There's certain people they post. I'm like, nobody cares, bro. Like, why are you? Like, nobody cares about your opinion.
Well, the problem I have are like the people who never interact with you at all. Never like a post,
Yeah.
never say hi.
Yeah.
You know, they don't react to anything.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, it's like that friend from like 20 years ago who you only know because of so and so and whatever. And then you post something that they don't agree with, and all of a sudden they chime in. And
It's like, I haven't talked to you in years. Like, what are you? What
where
are you
did
doing?
you come from?
Yeah, I didn't even know we were still friends on here. Like,
Yeah. And that's annoying.
it's funny because me and my friends back home, we have this like group text that we stay in to keep in touch.
Yeah.
And it's like my wrestling promoter, his wife, and then a couple other friends. And it gets pretty wild in there. We share memes and like funny stuff, but like we have this thing where we'll take like a screenshot of our like craziest Facebook friends, like the ones
Why
that are,
do you take screenshots of your crazy Facebook friends?
yeah, and we'll send it to the text thread so we can like show each other like we want to create like a coffee book table of like the weirdest profiles on Facebook. It's like people of Walmart but with Facebook, you know, like it's like, so she's like,
It's the new Facebook.
she sent this one where it's like this dude that's like totally convinced that like, you know, Democrats are eating babies and that the earth is flat and we live in a dome and all this stuff, and like there's like
So
yeah, so like he's definitely in there. He's like one of them, and I don't know. It's just a
that's gonna be a
pastime.
coffee table book.
Yeah, where you can make this like book, like the craziest people on Facebook.
Oh,
We definitely could never really do that because it's like you can't do that. I don't know. It's just something funny we do, keep each other entertained. You know.
Oh,
Like,
that's funny.
but there's some wild people out there on Facebook that believe some wild stuff.
I thought I knew some of my friends, and I thought I knew some of my family, and then you see what they, how they comment on some stuff, and how
It's
they
like,
respond to certain
oh,
things.
shit,
It's like,
okay.
whoa, I didn't know you were like that.
Yeah, it gets pretty wild, doesn't it?
Then it's like unfollow.
Yeah. It's
You
like
know?
a
And
Wild
if they get
West.
crazy, then they get unfriended. But
It's Wild West out there on Facebook. It's wild. Yeah. But yeah, that's why we thought it'd be funny to start like a coffee book table. Just like,
now,
I
I,
think
hope I never make a photo on the coffee book
nah,
table.
you wouldn't make it. It's some real weirdos out there, you know. But I don't know, just something funny.
That's
I don't know
hilarious.
that there's certain group texts that I like have with friends that I like doing it because it's like, so I have my group text with my two buddies back home, my two best friends. We're always just checking in on each other and you know, it's all pretty positive stuff.
That's awesome.
That group with my wrestling promoter is why that one gets wild. The stuff
On
that
text?
yeah, just the memes and funny memes and stuff. But it's a cool way to kind of keep in touch with people you otherwise, you know, because they're all still back in Iowa. So it's fun to stay in touch that way.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's where you go into, okay, social media has its advantages.
Those are the positives.
Yeah, because back in the day, if I wanted to keep in touch with my friends during the summer, we had to write letters.
Oh my God, that's old school.
We had to
yeah.
actually like write a letter,
That's a lost
address
art.
it, put a stamp on it, and mail it.
Because you were saying like your penmanship, like I don't think I can even write anymore. Like I can like write. I have pretty decent handwriting if I write in all caps. Like if I got to do the
Yeah.
boards at work for the beer, like I can do it. I can still write
It
my
takes
name.
effort.
But like if I try to like start writing a note, I'm like, oh my God, I forgot how to write. Because we don't ever do it anymore, you know. Like we like writing down somebody's email, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't remember how to actually write. You know, especially if you're doing
And
lowercase.
spelling.
Yeah, spelling. Luckily, the phone fixes it all for you.
No,
but-
but if you're writing
Yeah, then
and
it's
then
like
trying to spell, it's
no.
like, oh, man.
the phone is weird though because since I've had this podcast and you're trying to put people's names in, it's like so annoying when it tries to autocorrect stuff. It's like, no, write what I just said.
It
Like
thinks
I
it's
mean
too
what I
smart.
said. Yeah, it's like keeps changing the last name or like I can't remember. Like definitely with Sam's last name, Sam Deason.
Oh, uh-huh.
I can't remember what it kept changing it. I'm like, would you stop doing that? You know, like I had to like go back and hit enter to make sure that it got it right. But
Autocorrect.
autocorrect can mess you up sometimes. You think you just wrote some smart thing to your friend, and you look back, you're like, oh shit, I just autocorrected to some weird thing. Like,
Yeah, it could go really,
it
really
can
bad.
go bad. Yeah, yeah, it's funny. But yeah, I think social media can also be really positive. Like, look at it in the sense of like what Mark does with it. So like, you know, posing classes, like sharing and promoting other people, all that stuff, and it helps his business. Like, so, and then the other thing we do in the bodybuilding stuff is like we will get inspired by other people. Like, so if they're posting that they're working really hard, and you see that, like, you get inspired by it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And it makes you want to work hard as well. And so I definitely, like, if I've asked this to some of my other guests, if you could live in any other time, would you want to? Or because for me, I love this time we live in right now. Is there any other time you wish you could live in? If you could pick any decade?
Any decade.
Or you? Because me, I think right now is the best time to be alive. Even with all the crazy social media stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do this time without
all the social media.
I except MySpace. If we could go back to MySpace.
MySpace? What was that dude's name? Tom?
Tom.
That made us friends with
That
Tom.
was the OG
We didn't even...
MySpace. Yeah, if we could have this time with MySpace, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't even remember.
Because
MySpace.
all you had to do, there wasn't any of the type of interaction that you see today. You just shared like.
Oh, you just
music.
shared stuff.
Yeah.
And there was no, like, people couldn't comment on it, right? Like,
I think you could, but
that was before everybody started getting nasty.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but it was, those were fun times.
Yeah, they just made you friends with some dude named Tom. That's all I remember. I barely remember that. Yeah, MySpace. What
You could have your own music.
Yeah.
On your, so you had your profile page, and you
remember
could change your own music.
Remember like iPods?
You know, I never
had an iPod. Yeah, that's like where it all started. iPods, then iPhones.
You're gonna start thinking I'm anti-Apple.
I think you hate Apple, honestly. I think this is. I don't know what they did to you, but
Windows.
Yeah, you're just not into the Apple products. I keep getting these green things on my phone. I'm like,
one of these days.
What is
I'll
this
give it another
green
try.
bubble?
I know.
It's always weird when you get a green bubble. You're like, ugh, green bubble.
I have like this group text with me and my cousins. I think a majority of them are Apple.
So is that
iPhone users, and so they get to all like react to certain comments, and I can't do that.
You can't do the heart. Like, somebody says something really loving, you're like, we can heart it. Like, oh, I love that.
It just says reacted. I'm like, how did you react? Were you sad? Were you mad?
Right. I'm like, if you keep sending me these green bubbles, how am I supposed to heart them? Heart. You know, like, come on.
First world problems.
It is a first world problem. Yeah, I don't know. It is weird. It's weird when you have one thing or the other, and then it's like everybody that likes the one, you want to get everybody to your side. Like, come on, just get the blue bubble. Stop being green bubble.
I'm a rebel.
But you're a rebel. Or it's like which side is the dark side? Like, am I Darth Vader, or are you the rebellion? Or like, what side's the evil side? Like,
Mark seen both sides.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it's like Star Wars. Which one's the Empire and which one's the Rebellion? I feel like Apple would be the dark side, kind of. But I feel like Android, they make a lot of money too, don't they? I
don't know. Like, Google's not the safest place.
I mean, the creepy thing about it is like they just.
I'm really not liking some things that Google is doing now, and just websites in general.
Yeah.
You know, just forcing you to accept cookies now, and just
they're watching
everything.
Every move.
They just want to track us. You know,
and they're not just tracking you; they're selling
everything.
all your data and making tons of money off of it, and keeping tabs on everything you do. They have a profile on every. I mean, it's wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really care.
Data is the new gold.
Yeah, data is everything. It's like, I wish we could make money off our data. They make so much money off our data. I remember my mom the other day, like on Facebook, and a bunch of other people from my hometown. I'm like, This is when I knew that my like hometown, like the people are getting too old, because they posted this thing on Facebook. It was one of those things like, my feed's been full of too many ads lately, so if I copy and paste this, it should reset the algorithm. I'm like,
No.
I was like,
No.
Mom, are you really that old lady that's posting that dumb stuff? Like, copy and pasting text into your Facebook feed is not going to change anything. And like the whole thing is an ad. That's the whole. It's an ad model. Like copying text into a thing is not going to change anything about the algorithm. I'm like, Mom, are you getting senile? Do I have to move home? Like, what are we doing? And it was like all these other people, and I was like, why did they think that would work?
Yeah.
Because you could write gibberish in your thing and post it would be the same thing.
Have you ever watched the movie Snowden?
No.
Oh.
That's about Edward Snowden.
Yeah, that's a good.
Is
movie.
that on which streaming service?
I think I probably watched it.
Rented
on
it.
Maybe Amazon Prime at one
And
point.
who's in
It
that?
was
Who
years ago.
plays him? Justin Timberlake?
Was it Edward
Norton? Yeah, because I don't know much about that thing, but yeah, it's some wild stuff.
It does make you question all this technology.
And I'm trying to blow this podcast up. We probably just got shadow banned for talking about it. No, they're probably gonna take this episode down like, ooh, they're getting too close to the truth here. Like they're talking about all this stuff. Yeah. No, it's wild though. Like they make so much. There was that other documentary on Netflix. I think The Social Dilemma or whatever.
Yeah, that's another one.
And they talked
too.
about all that too, and it's like, and that one showed how easy
That's
it was
creepy.
for the son to get radicalized politically too.
Yeah.
Like he all of a sudden got deep into that.
Yeah.
And it's wild. There's another one like Into the Storm, I guess, which is about the QAnon stuff. And it shows how people got so radicalized by all that stuff. That was one where they thought like that the government was some secret pedophile thing, and that there was some kind of like something going on at the basement of this pizza joint, and this guy showed up at the pizza place with a gun thinking he was going to save kids from being human trafficked, and it turned out like there was no basement there, and it was just a conspiracy. And like,
Wow.
yeah,
What is that? Into
the Storm. It's all about the QAnon stuff. I don't know much about it, but
I don't know.
it's wild. It's wild. There's wild stuff out there. But yeah, I feel like you got to be careful on what you believe or don't believe from social media.
Well, and yeah, so that's definitely something, raising kids in this generation,
Yeah.
a high priority, making sure that they, have, the ability to not get sucked in.
Yeah,
to all
sucked
of
into
that.
some of that stuff. Kind of keep some basis in reality outside of social media, so you kind of have a framework of like, yeah. I don't know, that is wild. But yeah, there's some good documentaries on all that stuff. Like, I forgot, what were we talking about right before that? Shit.
I don't know.
I got carried away. Yeah, that's just some wild stuff. I mean, I think it was like, I was going to say like the other thing that's weird about all that is like, I just saw this thing where this guy was talking about the supply chain, like for our phones, and like where all the cobalt comes from I think it's like in the Congo in Africa. And the sad thing is like, basically it's like slave labor. There's like people with their kids on their back, and they're in these mines digging for cobalt, and like that's the only way they can get $1 to eat that day. And it's like the bottom of our supply chain for these phones. It does, like, we're all guilty, because there's people like slaves right now digging up cobalt just to make our batteries for these phones. And it's like, I mean, what do we do about it? I don't know, and like, and the other thing is like their economy is basically based around that. So like, even if you would try to go in there and like say like ban it, like we're not going to,
they'll be like, what are we
they'll
doing?
be like, no, we need this. This is how we make our money, So it's like, I don't know, it's messed up. But it's
where we're at.
I mean, on a positive note, it's like, it's pretty great time to be alive. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I did answer that question.
Yeah.
It's every day is a blessing.
Yeah.
To be alive.
Right.
I mean,
I think it is too. I love being alive in this time,
Some people don't wake up the next day. It's a blessing to be here. I'm just
right.
and so it's every every day I just look at it as an opportunity to do better than yesterday.
Just growth, a
To
lot of
learn, grow. You know, because of my faith, I believe that God is just using every day, every minute of our lives to groom us into, and strengthen our character to help us become better versions of ourselves
yeah.
to fulfill, whatever our purpose is
I like that.
in this life. So,
Yeah.
even, I'm in the 2023, I'm looking at like, okay, this is going to be the year where I'm going to embrace change. I'm going to, welcome, new opportunities. I'm
Yeah.
going to allow myself to, explore and be creative more, and
Yeah.
to take some risks where in other times, I wouldn't. So, but it's like, so every situation, good, bad, negative, positive, you need that in order to build that endurance.
I think what you said about the negative stuff, I don't think we appreciate it until much later. Like the times when you have really bad things in your life, you look back and you're so thankful. At least for myself, there's times where I've been through really hard things, and when I'm going through them, it seems terrible. But then when I look back, I'm so thankful for them.
Yeah.
Because they made you who you are. They made you so much stronger. They made you learn a lesson that you need to learn.
Made you wiser. Yeah.
Made you wiser. Like it made you treat people better. Like it made you, like you said, try to be a better version. And then you even realize sometimes when you look at bad situations, like what parts of that were your fault. Like what parts of that
Do some
was
self-analysis.
I actually at fault. It wasn't. I can't blame it on everybody else. Like I can't. And you learn how to like, oh, I'm actually like, I'm part of the reason things didn't go right for me, or like, and then you learn how can you be better at that.
Right.
And I think it's good what you said about this year, 2023. You're kind of like setting intentions for the year, right? Like you have these ideas of like, this is what I want to do this year. Because I think you're right. It's like my biggest fear in life would be staying stuck the same without that growth or trying to be better every year, or like just change,
Yeah.
like. So yeah, like, so that's some goals you have coming up, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how much longer do you think, like how many more years do you think Mark will be bodybuilding?
Till his body says
Till
he
the-
shouldn't anymore.
Yeah. What's
I don't know.
what's been the hardest part about being like married to a bodybuilder for so long?
The hardest part?
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but it really is a lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you eat, sleep, drink, bodybuilding.
Yes.
Literally.
There's not any day where it's like, can we just not talk about bodybuilding and do bodybuilding things?
Not talk about bodybuilding.
Because it's like meal
think
plan
about
every day,
Yeah.
workout every day, cardio every day, clients every day. So the whole thing is revolved around it. It's like, so like there's really no time in your life where it's like.
Not in your forefront.
So like, because there are other people that exist in the world that their lives don't have anything to do with bodybuilding.
Yeah. But
and we forget it because we're so into it. It's like there's actually people out there that don't do any of this. They just like live their life.
Right. Like so, it's like some people I know. You were asked earlier. What kind of shows are we watching, and what we literally have no time to like watch these things because sometimes his earliest personal training client is 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah, and I'm complaining about 8:30. I better step up my game. Damn, son. Like,
Yeah,
what am I can't be complaining.
He was
Shit.
training someone at 10:30 last night.
Yeah.
So we have to be intentional about scheduling, blocking out in our calendar date nights.
Like time for each other.
Family nights, family days.
How important is that? Is that
100% important?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like if we're not making time for what really matters,
Yes.
bodybuilding will always be there.
Right. We were talking about that yesterday, how no matter how ambitious we are, no matter how big our goals are, nothing in life is more important than like love, family, and friendships.
The
Like
relationships.
at the end of the day, when you're on your deathbed, those are going to be the things that you remember, you know? So if you're not putting time into that,
even your you can't, your muscles won't go with you to heaven.
no, your soul or your spirit will, but
Yeah.
your body,
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
your body stays here. It goes back into the earth. I mean, it's you that goes on to somewhere else.
And what people remember you for. So, so yeah, it's yeah. If your question, yeah, with that is, it's just, it's a consuming
lifestyle.
lifestyle.
But
And
so the important thing is intentionally creating time for family and date night and stuff like that. So you actually, the way to combat that busy lifestyle is work that into it, schedule that into it with intention. Yeah, so that's a good thing. I feel like that's like important because it's like just like anything else, you make time for it by working it in, scheduling it in, and then it's like, and then being present when you're there, right? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this is what Mark does for a living. It's not a hobby.
Right.
So, that's where, owning a business. Do you really own the business, or the business owns you?
Well, yeah, because it's not just that he's a bodybuilder. It's like he's an entrepreneur.
Right. And
So it's like you're married to an entrepreneur
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that can be challenging. Yeah.
yeah. So, we're friends with a lot of people that own businesses. We have family members that own businesses.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle to balance, find that balance. I don't know if you really, I read somewhere in an article, just throw the word balance out. It doesn't exist.
There's like no balance.
There's no balance.
Yeah, it's just basically a big
But
chaos, right? Like
for the most part, it's what,
intentional chaos, like with some
Organized
sort of
chaos?
organized chaos. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Controlled chaos, yeah. That's what we used to call it, controlled chaos, yeah.
but yeah, it's it we don't always follow our schedule. And it's in those moments when we're like, okay, we'll just reschedule it, we'll put it off, and then if something happens, and we're fighting, and the kids are feeling neglected, and there's tension in the home, then we know, okay, why?
Yep.
And it was because we didn't make those things a priority. So,
Right.
you hear about that analogy with the jar and the rocks.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
Explain it to me.
Yeah, so there's a professor, and he goes up to his class, and he holds up this big jar, right?
Yeah.
And he puts it in front of the class. He's like showing this empty jar, and he's got a bunch of rocks off to the side, and he asks the he puts the rocks inside the jar. I'm sure I'm not telling this exactly the way it was, but he puts the rocks inside the jar, and he asks the class, "Is this jar full?" And they're
they
like,
say
"Yeah,
yes.
yeah."
But then you can pour
full.
like sand in there.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
first pebbles, then sand.
Yes.
And then like water.
Water, yep.
And it's like, so it really wasn't full.
So he's like, "Well, what's the lesson that you learned here, class?" And they're like, everything you can do everything. Or everything fits. And
Right.
and then he's like, "No, the lesson is here is put the big things in first.
Okay. Otherwise, yeah, you wouldn't have had room.
Room for anything else."
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we
So you
try
have to base it around like the foundation has to be like family, that stuff first.
You have
And
to
then
know
you
your
build
priorities are.
everything else around that kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and how do you identify those priorities? Right? Well, make a list. What's important to you?
Yeah, because I'm finding that out too, like, because I want to do everything. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
a
And
lot
I'm
of
like,
people who are
and
ambitious.
I can, and I'm going to. It's like,
Yeah.
it's you just have to like. That's why I get inspired by entrepreneurs. So like, you know, hearing like how hard people work, I'm like, oh, so if they can do that, like I can do that. Like, you know,
Well, and yeah, but, it goes to, what's your definition of success?
that's tough.
You know,
I don't know.
and you know,
It's different for
it
every
looks
person.
it looks different for every person. Success to some people might mean financial success.
Yeah.
Some people might, you know, think it's profession, you know, career or professional success.
Right.
Others, it's, you know, some sort of status. You know,
100%. Yeah.
you know, maybe that's their definition of success.
So do you already feel like successful? I was gonna say, because if I think about it, the way I define success, in a sense, I already feel really happy about the life I've lived. You know, because for me, sometimes it's about how you've lived your life is almost some of it too. Like if you haven't, you know, done anything too bad or screwed people over or like, and then I'm lucky in a sense that I was able to do things that I wanted to do, chase dreams that I wanted to chase. So like I don't, at the end of my life, I won't have like, oh man, I wish I would have done this.
Regrets.
Regrets, because, but then at the other side of that, when you're out chasing things, sometimes you are taking for
Paying a price.
granted, you're paying a price. Like even me being out here chasing my dreams, I'm thousands of miles from my family. My sister has my two nephews and one niece that I'm not part of their life right now that I wish I was. Like I'm not at home right now where like my grandma, she is getting older and she's like the last grandparent I have left, and I'm not spending all this time with her, and who knows how many years she has left. Like these are all trade-offs, you know, and I'm very
Yes.
aware of them, and it's like, so it is tough to balance all these type of things. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there's I heard this one saying, I can't remember, it's a famous quote, but it's like there are no there's no solutions, only trade-offs. Like so it's like you're never really going to get a perfect solution. There's always a trade-off. Like if you do this here and you're successful in this thing, you're maybe missing out on this other thing, and it's hard to balance, you know, like yeah.
Yeah. No. Do I? So your question is,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
I see myself as
Right. Do you feel
being
pretty
successful?
fulfilled in life and everything? And or is that what you're working on in 2023? That's what you're going for, is some of those goals.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think you really nailed it when you said, you know, when, you know, at the end of the day, I, you know, feel like I, you know, did what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
and I'm happy with myself, kind of around those lines. But, you know, in our family, we don't subscribe to the idea that we've ever arrived.
I like that.
We
There's no finish.
No, there's always an opportunity to learn, to grow, be
Yeah.
better, to influence another person, to inspire another person, to make a difference. And so I think success, it's a day-to-day kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
love that.
this, okay, I got to do all of these things and accomplish these things, and at the end of the tunnel, what do I have to say for myself?
There's no end.
No, it's to me, it's success is when I lay my head on my pillow at the end of the day, who did I make smile?
Yeah.
Who did I make laugh? Who did I help encourage?
Yep.
And it's just an ongoing process, day
Yeah.
to day. And as long as I didn't bring anyone down, hopefully, then
Right. If you
Yeah.
can look yourself in the mirror and know that you were good to people, that's a big thing.
yeah. And I please God.
And not have like guilt, like
Yeah.
of something you did bad, or like
Right.
that's a big thing for me. So conducting yourself in a way that you can be proud of
Right. And
as you go through life.
I mean, we'll make mistakes. We're human.
Oh,
right?
I've done it.
Yeah,
Trust me. Yeah.
there are many times where I laid my head down in bed at night and be like, "Why did I say that?
There's a few things
Why
I've
did
done
I
in
do
life
that?"
that I really wish I could take back. Yeah.
Turn back the hands of time and not do that. But
Yeah.
but there's that. What is this saying there? There's no mistakes, only opportunities for growth. And so Bob Ross, didn't he say something like that? There's no
Oh, he did say
there's
that.
no mistake.
He's always like, "Oh, I made a little mistake. Oh, nope, now it's just a little tree.
Yeah.
Just put a little bush over here. We'll just cover that up."
Yeah. I like him.
Yeah, well, even that tattoo artist I had on here, he said, like, when you're an artist, he's like, a mistake is just part of the art.
Yeah.
He's like, you have to blend it in. There's no fixing it. It's like, it's now just part of the piece, you know, like.
But are there things that I want to do before I leave this earth?
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely. There's a lot of things I want to see done for myself. I want to see my kids, do what they want to do.
Yeah.
But I the way I look at it is, I think my gauge is my kids.
Right.
Because
That's a big priority
I
now.
brought these children into this world, and even though I'm not the only person in their lives influencing them and turning them into what they want, or who they are and who they're gonna be. If I am able to look and say I did okay with them, then I'm good with that.
And that'll, like, never stop being your job.
Raise them to be good kids that serve in their communities, serve people, that aren't selfish, entitled.
Yeah, that's a big one. You don't want your kids to be like a Karen or something.
Yeah, I know.
No offense to our Karen. I love some Karens out there, but that's like that term that people use, like.
You have an interview for a Karen one of these days. You're gonna think about that.
Well, I know a Karen at the gym. She's awesome, and she's not a Karen. I'm like, damn.
Poor Karens.
I know that saying ruined it for all these nice ladies named Karen. It's like, it's that name for like super entitled.
It'll be interesting to see the baby names of 2020 and
oh my God, I can't wait.
No one's gonna be like a Karen.
No, that name is done. That name is done. Maybe someone will be daring and be like, I'm just going to name her Karen anyway. Screw that.
What was my mom thinking?
I know, and it's really is a pretty name, actually. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know a lot of Karens.
I do too.
It's but
I don't know how that name became the like go-to.
I wonder if that person made royalties.
Who was the original person? It's just like I think it was just like they were using a generic white lady name, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, and then it went viral.
And it became a viral thing. It's like...
It became a movie.
Is that a movie
There's
too?
an actual movie called Karen or something.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's the thing, like... And we all know what a Karen is. It's that super entitled person that, like, wants to complain about something and get, like, their food for free or whatever. Like, wants to talk to the manager. like can I see your supervisor? I tell you what, though, there's times when you need a Karen. Like, because some shit went wrong or, like, like, you need somebody and you're one of those people that doesn't want to, like, talk to the manager and you're like, it's fine, but, like, actually, really, it's not fine. And you're like, we need to pull a Karen in to deal with this. Like, we need, like, because I'm not talking to the manager. I don't want to ruin that guy's day. We need somebody that's willing to go there. Like, I'm thinking of, like, when our flights got canceled and everything. And, like, I had to call and, like...
Oh, during the Christmas holiday?
Right, so I wasn't able to make my flight, but it was still showing as going, and I wanted to get my credit. I didn't want to lose that money, So, like, if it was up to me, luckily my friend Kaylee was able to, like... She went into, like, mom mode. She's like, give me that phone. And she's like, excuse me, can I talk to your man? Like, she went into full, like, she got it done for me, and I got my money back and everything. And I was like, wow. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I would have never been, like, I just don't like dealing with that kind of stuff, So.
Well, I can be confrontational.
You need that
yeah,
sometimes.
I think there's a difference between being confrontational.
Right. That's what I actually mean. That's what you need sometimes.
And being a Karen.
A Karen's a different thing.
Yeah, a Karen will find will assume no personal responsibility.
Right. They just want attention or something.
Yeah, they just want to make the other person feel miserable
Because
because they're
they
miserable.
feel miserable. That's what it is. Yes.
That's
The psychology of it. If you're
Yeah.
going back to your psychology, 100%. It does, and it can be a guy, girl, it doesn't matter. It's somebody who is unhappy in their own life and wants to pass that unhappiness on to somebody else.
And that never happens in bodybuilding.
It doesn't?
No, never.
You're being sarcastic? Is there some shitty bodybuilders out there? Oh, I bet you got stories. Like, you probably run
No,
into
I'm just talking about, just, what's the saying? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
It's all right. It'll come to
People who are unhappy.
Yes.
Yeah, they spread their unhappiness to other people.
It's like that hurt people thing.
Hurting people hurt people.
It is weird.
That's what I was trying to say. I'm like, all right.
No, I get what you're saying though. It's
John Maxwell. Yeah.
What's that?
Who's that?
Yeah.
You never heard of John Maxwell?
Uh-uh.
Well, you better get yourself some John Maxwell books.
Is he a good author?
Mm-hmm. Leadership. Very well known author. Books on leadership.
That's good. I keep getting
Pastor.
so many good suggestions for books from my guests on here. I need to get on some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true, though. People, if they're in pain or hurting, a lot of people will pass that on to other people.
And
or try to.
Some people may not. The psychologist.
Yeah.
Want to be in me. Well, and, also, me being a Christian, I think it's important that we show extra grace for those people because we don't know where they're coming from.
I think so too, because that might be the thing that nobody's giving them love, and that's why they're like that.
Well, and it goes back to my experience as a parent. So when my kid is acting up, why is that most of the time when a kid acts up?
They're lacking attention or something, or they need something from you, but they don't know how to ask. There's something missing. Yeah,
there's something missing. There's a void, and we need to, figure out what that is and what the root of that problem. What is it that caused that? Mm-hmm. And for some adults, I mean, it goes way back to, could be birth.
Right, they just haven't dealt with some shit.
I
find a lot of adults are walking around with like traumas from childhood that they just
Absolutely.
haven't dealt with, and it's like part of you wants to be like, you need to grow up or something, but it's like also like they don't. What are they gonna do? They don't know how to handle it, or so they've never learned how to move past that, I guess.
Yeah, how do you move past that? How do you move past the trauma?
Therapy.
If you realize you have a problem.
Yeah, that's true. And
it
a lot of
makes
people.
it-
Yeah.
some people don't, or they don't
Right.
see it as a problem.
Yeah.
So there's. I don't think, especially men,
Yeah.
feel comfortable asking for help.
We don't. You mean right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't.
No,
don't
I
feel
think we
comfortable.
don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the big takeaway from yesterday's podcast was that more men should reach out if they need help or they feel like they can't reach out because we feel like it's like not manly to. Well, and part of it too is like it just depends on what your situation and what you need, and I think there should be more groups where men can like do that with each other, like be vulnerable, ask for help type of thing.
Yeah. They're out there.
I'm sure there's tons of resources.
It's like we're in America.
Yeah.
There's a resource for everything, but it's like, how does one that might not have many friends or access to those resources know how to get the help?
Well, and as people get older too, I think it's tougher to make friends. Like when you're a kid, you're just like, hey, do you like Ninja Turtles? Oh, I like them too. And you're like, we're friends, cool. But when you get older, it's like, definitely I think it's more difficult to make friends.
Well, and we're living in a digital age. You know, I met you because of social media.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Everything's
I-
on. So it's like I got a million friends. They're all on social media. I never talked to them in real life. I don't really know anything about them, but we're best friends on social media. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And so we're, there's that, way to engage with other people and make friends. But what if you're not on social media? Okay. Where do you go to meet people? Which is like, how do people date these days if they're not meeting people online?
Tinder.
That's online though.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, well, I think one of them is church. I think that's one where people meet. I think some people still meet in bars, but I think there's actually data on it, and like the number of people who met online is way up, and the number of people meeting in real life is way down. Like somebody released this graph, and I think, and in the past it used
What's
to
dating in 2023?
be, dude, I don't even know what dating is anymore. I'm scared to date. I'm like, I'm not going through another heartbreak. I mean, maybe I'd get really jacked. If I just need one more heartbreak.
Oh no.
That's what's keeping me. You just wait. Next year, my bodybuilding show this year is going to be nothing. I'm going to get in a relationship, get broke up with, get my heart broke. Next year, I'm going to be huge. Like I'm going to be just capped, like shoulders just capped, huge. Just like, I'm like one heartbreak away from being like an IFBB pro, bro. Just like,
There's a pro card for your division.
There's a pro card in my future if I just need somebody to break my heart. Maybe that girl at the tanning
don't throw
bed.
that
Maybe that
in the-
tanning bed girl.
Don't throw that out in the universe.
Yeah. Just need one more good heartbreak, and I'm probably going to be really successful.
See, Mark and I met in college.
That's really commendable, actually. That you guys, like, because, like, my parents do their...
But we probably crossed paths for years and didn't know it because he was going to school in a rival school.
No
and we
way.
probably could have ran into
But it's
each
like
other
fate,
at football
right?
games.
It's like fate. You met when you were supposed to meet, kind of. Maybe.
Maybe.
If you believe in that stuff, yeah.
Hey, it's it was just that's how you met people. The most technology we had were pagers.
Isn't that weird? You're right. It's so different. I don't even know that like Tinder is a good. I mean, I know a couple. My manager and his wife, and they're like super good couple. Love each other. They work great together, and they met on Tinder. But it was a few years ago when I think Tinder was a little more.
I was gonna say, is Tinder still around?
Yeah, I think Tinder used to be a little more. People would take it a little more serious. Now I feel like it's probably just a hookup app.
Right.
It doesn't seem as like
Like
so I
you're
don't know.
looking for your future wife, maybe not on that.
Well, it's basically
Site.
like, I mean, what do you do on Tinder? You just look at appearance. You know nothing about who they are. I mean, maybe you write a little paragraph, but it's basically all based on looks, like left, right, left. I mean, what do you get out of that?
I would not be. I'm sorry, my husband is good looking, but I would not be married to him or be with him today if I just based it on looks.
You have to get the personality, get to know who they are. Like,
There was, I mean,
yeah, it's so limiting.
so
just trying
much more to know about a person.
right, and it takes time to get to know people. you know?
Yeah. I mean,
I don't know. I think honestly, a lot of people have trouble finding people in this day and age, dating wise.
because they're scared, like what you said.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Don't want to have some psycho probably girl or someone that's gonna break your heart,
Right.
right?
Yeah. I think if you meet the right one, though, you're not scared.
They might not be the sex they are.
Well, hey, I got a couple trans friends, so yeah, shout out to them. Yeah,
I do too.
Yeah,
We got
they're
some
great.
clients that are.
Right, they're great people, but that's true.
But
you
I'm
don't-
just saying, based on appearance.
Oh, you might see
think-
somebody you're super attracted to, and you have no idea that they were born a different sex.
Yeah, you better check that pronoun.
Right. That's true. That's true. You never know.
That's the first question. What's your pronoun?
Right. That stuff's weird. I always don't know what to say about that stuff. Like,
I don't know. It's getting all complicated.
right. I just for me, it's like if I had a client or anybody, I'm just gonna do whatever they're comfortable with, because I'm cool with it. You know what I mean?
If it's not hurting me personally,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dig too deep into it.
Right.
But once you're starting to push your values and
If
your
I
beliefs,
accidentally, that's the thing is if somebody accidentally calls you the wrong one, it's like, don't get mad at them because they didn't know. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Because that happens sometimes where people get really offended, but it's like, well, if they didn't know better, you know, like,
I'm over all this offending thing.
oh, I don't like it either.
No.
Yeah.
We teach our kids not to be offended.
I don't like offended because it's like you can't have a society where you can't offend people. That's not a society. That's like a dictatorship. That's like fascism basically. No one's allowed, like, no one should ever be promised that you never will be offended in life.
Well, and it's how you receive what you feel like you're being offended by.
Yeah.
So where I think it all stems from is, are you the kind of person that when somebody says something to you, you're genuinely trying to understand them?
Right.
Or are you someone just trying to find trouble? Something wrong with them?
Right, and I think sometimes a lot of it can be like victim mentality. So just wanting to be a victim sometimes.
Yeah.
Because trust me, I actually have friends who are trans and gay friends that are completely tired of the
they're probably tired of it too.
offended stuff too. Like super, like my one friend, yeah, I have a trans friend that's over all that stuff.
It's like just treat me like a person.
Yeah, and it's
call
like
me by my name.
right, and it's like they don't want to be left out of the joke either. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's like you kind of treat them like a kid. If you're like, oh, I have to be careful what I say around so and so. They don't want to be treated like a kid. They're like, well, if you're saying something funny, I want to be in on it. I don't want you to like act different around me or like
it's like having someone with a disability or something like that.
Yeah, you want to treat them the same as you treat all your friends,
Yeah.
and they want to be treated the same way you treat all. I mean, I think that's what equality is, right? Like, so yeah, that stuff can get.
It's getting out of hand, but like I said, it's, you know, we'll call you whatever you want to be called.
Right.
Fine. Mm-hmm. You know, but it's where I have a problem with it is when now we're trying to push something in our schools on kids who don't think that way to begin with.
I think it's a tough thing being a parent with this, because I don't have to worry about any of that stuff. I know a lot of friends that have kids that they are very opinionated about some of this stuff because it's like, what are the schools teaching and stuff like that, and like you don't have a lot of control over it.
Yeah. Well,
I prefer to go by Big Sexy Beast. That's like my preferred.
you go in there.
That's how. That's what I like to be referred to, just in general, just so you guys know.
Okay, all right.
Like in the future, if you see me, it's like, "Hey, Big Sexy Beast, what's up?"
And then 10 other people turn their heads.
They're all like, "Must be talking about me." Yeah. No, I don't know. Yeah, I try to I always think it's like whatever makes people happy, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, I just where I will have a problem with it is when other people with their values and their morals, you know, that, you know, are trying to push things on my kids.
Right.
When, you know, at home we're teaching one thing and then they're being pushed to believe something else.
Right.
When those two collide and they contradict, that's when I'm going to have a problem.
It can cause a disconnect between you and your kids, kind of.
Yeah. And kids, I mean...
And maybe that's not the place of the schools to be teaching, you know?
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, it's not the teachers. It's you know, it's coming from a much bigger place than them. And, you know, they have a responsibility to do their jobs. And I
think most of it comes from
teachers.
Most of it comes from corporate stuff, really. I mean,
well, and you know, when you're dealing with public schools, and who funds these schools?
Yeah, yeah. I went to public school.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah.
It's weird. Like it's. Oh, look at it. What's this? Oh. Are you watching us? No, jeez. You're watching us simultaneously. That's crazy. But yeah, no, totally. Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm like a big fan of comedy and stuff too. So I am all about like.
Right. They are ruining it for all the great comedians.
We got to be able to joke. We got to be able to like.
What are we going to laugh about if we can't laugh at ourselves?
I know. And that's the thing is like having a sense of humor about yourself is huge.
And I love, you know, we're Filipino. So of course we love Joe Coy. right?
Oh yeah, that dude's great. He is great. I know Joe Coy. Yeah. Well, and it's like you got to be able to be made fun of. You have to be able to poke fun at yourself too.
Well, and that's what makes him so funny is he
Yeah.
doesn't just poke fun at our own culture,
Yeah.
but everybody else's too, like other great comedians. And so we're gonna put them all out of business.
Those are
And
the
we're-
greatest comedians.
Yeah, and we're gonna miss out on a lot of good times.
I think we need that more than ever now.
We need
comedy.
to laugh again.
Yeah.
Remember in Living Color?
Oh my god, that show was the best.
If you played that today, could
Like
you
I was
imagine?
just watching like Jamie Foxx. It was like that blind dating show, and it was like I think David Allen Greer is playing one of the male contestants, and he's like dressed as Wanda, and he's over there like, oh, he's doing that Wanda thing.
Wanda started the Botox.
Oh, I mean, basically, because remember he used to do that. He'd be like, and David Allen Greer.
Hey.
Comes over, and the first time like he sees Wanda, he just starts laughing, and like he breaks character. Goes over, he hugs Jim Carrey, and he's just like laughing. You can't even do the character.
That was classic.
And Jamie Foxx is just sitting there like, oh, what's wrong? Just like, dude, I used to watch that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so like,
I used to tape it.
yeah, it would
I
be
said
like
tape.
usually we'd go to school, whatever, at night, then my parents would come home, and then at night, like, usually they would let me, like, because we only had, like, 2 TVs, one downstairs and one in my parents' room.
Oh,
and it
yeah,
was, like,
so
the
did
old-fashioned, like, old TV. But we could, like, usually, me and my sister would get to go in mom and dad's room and watch, like, sitcoms with them or, like, TV. And at night, it would be In Living Color would come on, and they'd let us watch it when we started getting older. And that shit was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I still remember Fire Marshal Bill. Like, let me show you something. Like, oh, that stuff was great.
Homie the Clown.
Homie, don't play that. Yeah. Yeah, that stuff. And you're right, none of it would fly nowadays, which is sad because it's so funny. And it was so relevant. I mean, that's where J-Lo got her start.
Right.
She was a fly girl.
Right.
Remember that? And, like, and
Wayne's brothers.
all the Wayne's brothers, Jamie Foxx. I just watched a Jamie Foxx movie. If you have Netflix, he's in this like new vampire movie that's actually pretty good. Like he plays a vampire killer, and
wow.
it's kind of a comedy, and it's got James Franco's little brother is in it, and so he's basically a vampire killer. I don't know. It's really,
Okay.
but it's a comedy. It's funny. But yeah, you wouldn't have Jamie Foxx. You wouldn't have any of these people without that show. And that show, and Jim Carrey, I mean, that dude was the shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that show was, In Living Color was great.
I wouldn't mind going back to that time.
Remember that shit? Like they're like men on film. They're like, we give it 2 snaps and all that shit. Like,
Yep.
but yeah, Jamie Foxx as Wanda, that would not fly now.
Oh no.
No, not at all. Because like you're making fun of, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that was funny. That was simple fun. It was not meant to be hurtful in any way. But well, anyway, we're at like 2.5 hours.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't even think I'd have enough to say for 30 minutes. Remember?
Yeah, it goes. Time flies in this room. It's like you just start. We should like.
You're good at conversation.
We should break out the whiskey.
What?
No, I'm just kidding. I can't. I'm on prep.
I'm like, oh.
But
My coach is gonna see this.
Oh, I know. Well, my coach is Jordan, and he's like, man, if I was on that show, I'd be sipping that whiskey the whole time.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he'd probably be like, it'll relax you. Good for your cortisol.
Right now, he probably wouldn't because he's got a show coming up. But I think he actually does like whiskey. He's like I've been at a barbecue with him before, and he'll have a little whiskey. He's not scared of it or anything. But yeah, so I think that's probably a good place to call it for tonight.
Okay. Did I answer all your questions?
I think you did. Yeah.
I don't know. I just felt like
Let's just talk about what are some of your goals for the next year. And then we'll wrap it up after that. I mean, you kind of already told me.
Yeah,
See the new Avatar movie? No. That's one of mine.
Yeah, some of my personal goals this year.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned, I'm pretty involved with our church.
Yep.
And so a big one is really growing our women's ministry.
Yeah.
And our life group, which involves a lot of young adults and young professionals. Yeah, just kind of getting more involved there and helping reach out to communities, building new communities, continuing to hopefully be a light.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, that's similar to like with the men's group thing, like having resources for women as well, you know, like, so it's just about building community. And
Yeah.
I liked what you said about, you know, just always, I like what you said about there's never a finish line, because I think so many people think that there's some kind of ending goal and then life's rainbows and butterflies and you just stop working. It's like, no, you have to work up till the day you die. I mean, you get to a level at anything and you have to maintain that level by working. There's never a time when you just get to rest on your laurels and give, you know, like you're always wanting to be better. And even if it's not with like bodybuilding or some ambitious thing like work, it's like you said, just relationships, how you treat people, just being a better person every day. Like you can always keep growing. I feel like so.
Yeah.
I think that was a good lesson, and I think that's a good place to end the podcast.
Right on.
And I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
And
That was fun.
thank you to everybody for listening. And we'll see you next time.